Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to the April 10th, 2025 meeting of Burlington's Conservation Commission. This meeting and hearings of the commission will be held in person at the Town Hall, second floor meeting room. Members of the public are welcome to attend the in-person meeting. Please note that while we are providing an option for remote attendance and/or participation, it is being provided as a courtesy to the public. The meeting will not be suspended or terminated if we have technical problems that interrupt the virtual broadcast, unless otherwise required by law. Members of the public with particular interest in any specific item on the agenda should make plans for in-person versus virtual attendance accordingly. Okay. I think we'll do a roll call. All right, so let's see. We have, I'm going to do a roll call. Please, if you're here, say here or present. Sarah Walensky, she is absent. Okay. We have Kent Moffett.
Here.
Okay. Bill Boyven.
Here.
Ed Laturco.
Here.
Indra Deb. He's absent. He may be late, I guess. So he's absent.
No, I just remembered.
Rob Sheehan. He's not here. For the record, Larry Cohen, I'm here. Sadie Backstrom.
Here.
All right. Okay. All right, and for the record, Rob Sheehan is here.
He's gonna be minutes.
You were absent 1 minute ago. Now you're here. Okay,
How you doing?
all right. Okay, after calling the meeting to order, I'd like to tell you that on the agenda for the continued public hearing for the notice of intent, 114 Wynn Street, the Burlington Public Schools, which is to redevelop the back playing field at Marshall Simons Middle School, otherwise called Brush Field, DEP file number 122-713, has been postponed and will be continued at the next meeting. Could I have a motion to continue that hearing to the April 24th, 2025 meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Good.
Just to correct something for you. I'll do it when we get to it.
Okay. Okay.
It was moved and seconded.
Okay, all in favor?
Everybody's all-
Aye. Okay. All right. Next, we have a continued public hearing that has been postponed. Notice of intent, 7 A Street, American Maplewood Properties, LLC, for material storage and crushed stone parking areas, DEP file number 122-715. Could I have a motion to continue that hearing to April 24th, 2025?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Okay, that carries 500. Okay, that's the end of agenda items. Next comes down to public comment period. Do we have,
The pledge.
oh, we have, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I just got reminded. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated, thank you. Okay, we have public comment period. Okay, all right, so the person in back, and then you're next. So why don't you come up, and usually we give 3 or 4 minutes for something not on the agenda right now.
It should be done in 2.
Oh, I'm not going to time you.
Ready? Go.
Okay, and you state your name for the record and where you live.
Sure. My name is John Porter. I live at 238 Fox Hill. I live at 237 Fox Hill Road. We'll be talking about 238 Fox Hill Road later this evening, and so I wanted to make a couple of comments on that part of the meeting. So would I be doing that now, or would I?
No, you certainly will be given a time at that time to do it.
Okay.
It is number, it's number after, it's just a couple of items down on the agenda. and we'll be opening a hearing for that, and always at the end of the hearing, after we go through a certain routine, then we go to people who want to comment on it.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, so I'll ask you to reintroduce yourself at that time. All right, please. Mr. Hickey?
You got it.
So even though I know who you are, you should obviously state your name.
Thank you. And you've always been generous, Mr. Cohen, with the time. I've always appreciated it. I'm John Hickey, 10 Sarah Street, 63-year resident of Burlington. I'm here for the public record. I'm moving away from the trees and the shrubs and that part. I want to just address the retention wall one last time. This is my 7th and hopefully last time having to come before the commission. It's good to see you, Mr. Loturco. I know the last couple of meetings I've been here, you haven't been, but actually what I'm going to say kind of focuses more on you and Mr. Deb. So in regards to the retention wall at 12 Sarah Street and my concerns, Mr. Keeley, the former conservation administrator, at the May 9th, 24 public meeting strongly urged the commission to look at a detailed plan for the retention wall which was being built, and which the commission declined to do so, as they said it was going to be a 3-foot standard cinder block wall. Not only was proper oversight not conducted on the building of the wall, Mr. Degani and Mr. Bonanno haven't been able to tell me, up until last week, who approved the building of a non-mortared stone wall, since there were great concerns around the wall being used to protect the engineering and water from coming down into my property. I know that Mr. Loturco and Mr. Debs had a lot of concerns about the wall and the grade of the slope coming down from the property next to me. Mr. Degani used a 2-inch grading slope rather than the 6-inch slope that the commission mandated, which I discussed the last time that I was here. Mr. Degani indicated to me that he can change it if required to do so by the commission. Ms. Coleman told me several weeks ago that she was contacting Mr. Degani, Mr. Bonanno, and Mr. Gull to discuss the wall. I've had 2 different stonemason companies out to my property last week regarding some unrelated work, and I asked them about the retention wall. Both of them said that any outdoor stone wall should have a concrete footing so that the wall doesn't sink, and that it should be mortared if it's an outdoor wall. This wall has neither. I also went online and conducted research, and multiple articles all said that the outdoor stone wall should be mortared and have a concrete footing or at least 6 inches of crushed stone to prevent the wall from sinking, which would, as I think you will agree, would be a disaster for my property and for all that engineering, the most engineered project, as you said, Mr. Cohen, in 30 years. Mr. Bonanno indicated to me this week that there are a number of inches of crushed stone under the wall. Does this wall have an appropriate foundation? I don't know. Who's inspecting? Who's looking at it? Mr. Degani and I spoke on March 27th, and he said that it wouldn't be a bad idea for the wall to be mortared. Mr. Bonanno said that it doesn't have to be mortared, but he would do so if the commission mandates it. I'm asking that the wall be mortared, as it was supposed to be a solid wall, cinder block wall to begin with, and while I appreciate the aesthetics of the wall, it was being built to protect me from water and to maintain Mr. Degani's engineering work that you approved. I was also told that the non-biodegradable lining that they used in the wall, and I question the use of plastics relative to potential environmental issues with the water. I could be wrong. And as I showed you in the pictures that I sent with the snow, there's already water seeping through onto the snow in multiple places. I sent those pictures several weeks ago. I'm counting on the commission to make sure that both the wall and the wetland requirements set forth in the order of conditions and the civil engineer's plans are carried out correctly. The Town of Burlington Wetland Bylaw Regulation Section 16 enforcement permits this commission to impose various sanctions, including fining the homeowner until the order of conditions, which is on public record, is complied with properly and before any certificate of occupancy is granted. I sent pictures today, which I know Ms. Coleman forwarded to you, with my hand right through the wall, and big concern that that's not a mortared wall. Big concern that it's not a 6-inch slope. I'm being told by Mr. Degani, doesn't have to be, even though you mandated it, but he can change it if you want it. I understand a mortared wall would have to be upkeep, every 10, 20 years, but to ensure the integrity of the project and my property, I am asking that it is mortared and that you go out and look at what's going on there before you issue the certificate. That's it.
Yes, a couple of things occur to me, and this is not meant to be a rebuttal to you. Just a few things occur to me as I've read your numerous letters and as I've heard you here numerous times. And the first is that what we will do before we issue a certificate of compliance is two things. The first is we will do a site visit and see if there's compliance regarding, and you've talked a lot about the shrubs and a lot about the wall, okay? And you have expressed a lot of frustration because I think partly you have mistakenly assumed that we can control when they do that stuff. It's a 3-year permit, okay? And we don't control when they do it. What we do control is in order for them to get a certificate of compliance where the order is on the register, is on the deed, okay? It's an encumbrance on the deed. In order to get it cleared, they need a certificate of compliance, okay? And we will do two things. We will look at the plan, and we will look at the order. If the order, I mean, from my position, we haven't voted on it, and anybody else can speak if they want, but from my position, if it says 6 inches, it should be 6 inches. If it says it should be a mortared wall, okay, or a certain type of wall, and it's not, and which essentially means a sealed wall, then it should be a sealed wall. I mean, it's like, to me, it's straightforward. I mean, okay? Same thing with the plants, okay? And if it says it should be a certain height plants, it should be a certain height plants. If it says it should be a certain size shrub and a certain number of them, it should be a certain number. Otherwise, they don't qualify in my mind, he doesn't qualify in my mind for a certificate of compliance. Okay, so I just wanted to assure you that that's the process that we will follow. I know you've expressed enormous frustration. I didn't know what the right word was. Substantial, enormous frustration that you weren't seeing these things happen when you thought by now they should have happened, and I understand that. But it's, the control of the project is up to whoever's acting as the general contractor and the engineer to make sure that any issues are resolved regarding compliance with the approved plan and the approved permit. So I wanted to assure you, at least that's my position. When we get to a point where they're seeking a certificate of compliance, that's the approach that I will be looking at.
Right. And I don't want to take up any of your time. I appreciate that. That being said, you know, everybody, that Mr. Garney was ready to sign off and stamp everything. I'm not quite sure how that could be done when the wall is incorrect, that the slope is incorrect, that it hasn't been addressed. Nobody is able to tell me who even approved that type of wall, a non-mortared stone wall. It was a given with the commission. Mr. Deb spoke at depth, Mr. Laturco, and it was going to be a solid cinder block wall. Mr. Keeley said the plans really should be looked at. The commission didn't worry about it because it was going to be a 3-foot standard cinder block wall, not even weep holes needed, nothing like that. So it needs to be looked at and done properly before any certificate's given. And again, with what was voted on by this commission on the shrubs and trees, which we don't need to go back with, it's all on public record, the proper numbers of shrubs and trees with the right heights to protect everybody involved, all my neighbors with pumps, is supposed to be installed. It was voted on. It's on public record. And it's filed, and it needs to be completed properly. Everything still sits bare.
Well,
But I know the weather's been bad, but I know that Ms. Coleman mentioned that the trees would be coming in April at 2 meetings ago.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Let me also say, just so it's on the record, that I understand the source of your frustration is the fact that 8 very large trees were taken down in an area that has a substantial amount of flooding, and that helped control the flooding. And just so it's on the record, your source of frustration is that you're concerned that such a large project so close to you may result in additional water.
Correct.
So I want you to know, I do understand that.
Right. But I appreciate your time again. 7 times for a citizen in town to have to come to make sure there is proper oversight, and things have fallen through the cracks. is absolutely not acceptable. So I am, again, counting on the commission to make sure things are done properly for everybody involved. But thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time, too. Take care. Have a good evening. Okay, anyone else for citizens' time? Is an item not on the agenda? All right. Okay. Next, we have the approval of minutes. We have the minutes of March 27th, 2025. Do we have any reason for further discussion on those?
No.
Could I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Move.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? 500. Okay. All right. Item 4, notice is given. The commission will hold a public hearing, during which time it's related to a notice of intent filed by Indra Brada Deb for the demolition of a dwelling and construction of a new dwelling at 4 Ledgewood Drive in Burlington. The proposed work would be within the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetative wetlands under Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, which is the state's Wetland Protection Act, and Burlington Bylaw, Article 14. The commission will review information relative to this application and may issue an order of conditions and a wetlands permit for the project. This application may be viewed on the commission's website at the appropriate link for 4 Ledgewood Drive. Okay, so is there somebody here for that? Okay, so we have full disclosure on the record. The owner of the property happens to be our own Conservation Commissioner, Indra Deb.
Yep.
And he is, for obvious reasons, he's not participating.
Correct, yeah. For the record, my name's Jack Sullivan. I'm owner of the Sullivan Engineering Group. I'm the project engineer representing Mr. Deb. Just quickly, DEP did issue a file number for this. I'm not sure if the commission knows that. It's file number 122-0717.
Yes.
All abutters were noticed. Proof of the certified mailings were sent to the conservation staff in advance of the meeting. And what we're looking to do here at 4 Ledgewood Drive is there's an existing single-family home that will be demolished and a new single-family home will be constructed. There's bordering vegetated wetland off-site to the rear of this site. The entire 20-foot BVW buffer is off-site to the rear of the rear property line. And the 40-foot BVW no structure buffer comes just into the rear of the property. Norse Environmental Services performed the wetland delineation. In the proposed single-family home is going to have a walkout basement to try to limit the amount of fill needed for this site. It's a 10,000 square foot lot, 100 feet by 100 feet. I'm showing a paved drive. The majority of the work is, 3/4 of the lot is within the 100-foot BVW buffer zone. So the single-family home has a 2-car garage on the right-hand side. There'll be a paved driveway. In order to offer some drainage mitigation for this project, I'm showing the driveway pitching at a 1% slope off to the right-hand side, and it'll be captured by a crushed stone drip trench 2 feet wide by 2 feet deep. I'm also showing the entire roofed area of the house to be collected by a Caltech, an underground Caltech drainage system, and there'll be an emergency NDS pop-up emitter for large-scale storms. I did provide drainage calculations, but when I submitted to the commission, we had not performed a soil test hole on site. I had made some assumptions as to the groundwater table height and the soil types. We did perform a soil test this past Friday, April 4th, on site. I had designed my infiltration rate for a sandy loam soil. I found the soils to be loamy sand, so they're better soil conditions on site. But the groundwater table that I had assumed, I found the groundwater table higher than the assumption I made. I had the groundwater table around an elevation of 91, and when I went out there, the elevation was at 95.5, so it's much higher. My basement floor is still above the seasonal high groundwater table, but in order to comply with Mass DEP and your regulations on drainage, I'm going to have to change the drainage system around to make sure I maintain a 2-foot separation of the water table so that I provide sufficient pretreatment to stormwater flows and still manage the flows on site. So I just wanted to be transparent. We knew that was something we had to do. It just, the weather conditions hadn't allowed, and I know the commission still had to, they performed a site walk, I think, last night, so there may be some comments from that as well. I think at this time, I'll turn it over to the commission just to hear what comments might have come out of that site walk and any additional comments or questions you might have on the plan.
Great, thank you. All right, Eileen or Lucy, our staff, do you have comments on this one?
Not a lot to add to what Jack said. He described it very well. There's a pretty significant bordering vegetated wetland to the rear. It's part of the church-owned property. It's very extensive all along between the properties on Ledgewood and Cambridge Street. So I don't really have an issue with the flagging as we saw it. We did note that the test pits had not been done, so we did have a conversation with Jack about whether we would open the hearing tonight, but we decided to allow it to go ahead because he knew he was going to get the test pit done pretty quickly. We will need to see that data, though, as soon as you can, and then redo whatever you need to do with the calculations based on that. So some questions that I would have that are remaining are just, are you going to have to raise the elevation of the house itself based on that? And are you going to end up elevating a lot of the property?
I'm going to talk with the owner about that and the architect. Right now, I have the basement floor a foot above, half a foot above the seasonal high groundwater table. I think I should cheat that up to a foot, and I might have to talk with the building inspector to see what the minimum separation is.
There isn't a minimum separation, but I would, just based on a couple of issues that we have seen in the past year, I think erring on the side of a full foot is probably wiser, because we have seen like bulging water tables and blips.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
You're suggesting, what were you suggesting?
just that he raised the bottom of the foundation
Up
to
how far?
a foot above the estimated seasonal high groundwater.
Okay,
If that won't raise the elevation around the house too much.
okay.
And he could, if he's finding, I'm just positing this, proposing this, if he's finding that he would end up raising the level above the chambers too much, you could go with lower profile chambers.
That's what I'll probably have to do. So I'll probably have to pick everything up just so I can provide a little more coverage over whatever system I put in as well, and I'll have to do something with the low-profile system like you recommend.
Okay, shall we go, you all set?
Yeah.
Okay, so raising the house up. All right, on this side, I'll go to Ken first, and then Sadie.
How big is the existing house, and what's the actual square footage of the actual current house, and what's the new one? Is it going to be within the, not exact, but is it going to be within the existing?
I should have brought my drainage report, because in the drainage report, I did like a pre-development scenario, and I showed what the existing house was, all the impervious surfaces in the existing condition. I'll add a table to my plan with that, and then the proposed to show you the difference.
Yeah, it'd be good to just see like what, if it's like within
Yep.
the existing footprint, and like you said, impervious, pervious, so it'd be good to see.
I can provide that.
Okay, great.
Okay, Sadie, anything?
No, I don't have any questions.
All right, Ed?
If the elevation is probably most likely from your suggesting going to be raised, was there any effect to either one of the neighbor side? If something's going to be higher on your side?
No, because I need to show that whatever my pre-development rates of runoff and volume of runoff going off this site, I have to reduce those. So in the post-development, once this is developed, there'll be less water moving off the site, velocity and volume. So I'll manage that, so there'll be no impact.
Ed, let's take your point a little bit further. If you raise up the height of the lot a little bit to accommodate the basement above the estimated seasonally high groundwater table,
Yep.
you could have runoff off the sides of the house. Would you then recommend or design a swale on both sides to make sure that the water doesn't go into someone else's
I could
property?
do that.
Okay, so
Yep.
let me make that a note,
Yep.
okay? I was thinking the same thing that you were sort of getting
As soon
at.
as they said up, I looked at the neighbor's property.
Okay. And Rob?
I guess somewhat similar, I was looking at the back drainage pipe off the chambers. I was just wondering if that's solid or perforated. And then also, the pop-up emitter, goes all the way across, and it's a little close to the abutter's yard. So that's just something I thought might be a little concerned about as well.
Right, and the pop-up emitter would only go off in large, if we're over like a 25-year storm event, and it goes into a grass surface and it's a slow release. And the reason I picked that location, it's the lowest point on the site. So I try to go that, but your point's well taken. I don't want to put any water onto the abutters, so I'll take a look at that location as well.
Location of the infiltration,
Yep,
Of where the-
of the pop-up emitter.
pop-up emitter, right?
And I missed what you said in the beginning. You asked if
Oh,
something
yeah,
was
I just wondered
perforated.
If it's solid or perforated, the 4-inch.
Going from the Caltech field to the pop-up emitter, it's a solid pipe.
Okay. Okay, Bill?
The only comment I have is between the before and the after drawings, there's 11 trees missing. Do you have any plans to add trees to the site along the back line or anything like that?
I'll talk to the client about that. It's not a bad idea, even for privacy for him. So I'll see if he's open to some plantings. I'm sure he would be.
Yeah, I mean, that's quite a lot that are being removed here. I mean, one of
Yep.
them's only 4 inches, but the rest are all 8, 10, 12, and one 24-inch tree are all coming down, so there should be some consideration of replacing some of them.
Yeah, the majority of the trees are basically where I was showing the infiltration field to go on this site, but we can beef up some landscaping in the back.
Yeah, planting plan would be good to see.
Okay.
Yeah. And will you be, my question is, will you be cognizant of the fact that there should be 2 feet between the bottom of the infiltration chamber and the estimated seasonally high groundwater?
Correct.
And you will have that elevation, or do you already have it?
I already have it.
Okay, so you'll make sure it's placed accordingly?
Correct.
Okay.
And I have construction, on my sheet 3, I have construction details of the system showing, I'll add the test pit information, but I have a cross-section of what the infiltration field will look like with the groundwater table, the 2-foot set, and all the elevations, so the contractor can build off the approved plan.
Okay, is there anyone here for this hearing? It's before Ledgewood Drive. Is there anyone online at all for it?
I don't see any hands raised.
Anybody?
No hands are raised.
All right, thank you for keeping an eye on that. Okay, so,
You should probably mention that if any, oh, we didn't make them unmute or request unmute. No, we didn't, I'm
I
sorry.
don't know what you're saying.
Don't worry about it.
We're just trying to make sure we're more secure on this meeting, so nobody can present who's not given presenting status.
All right, so, and there's nobody looking to log in?
Nope.
Okay. All right, so what I see here is you're going to look at revising the design to raising the house up,
He owns it.
and you'll speak with the building inspector about what's acceptable from their point of view.
Yep.
And that you'll do a table area comparing the footprints or something like that,
Yep, I'm going to do a table showing the existing impervious cover on the lot
Yeah.
versus the proposed.
Bill said like a planting plan too. How many, just curious, how many trees being taken down?
11.
11.
Okay. Okay, so, and then you will, as your engineering judgment decides, you will put a swale on each side to prevent any water from going on to neighbors' properties?
Correct.
And you will review the location of the pop-up emitter, right?
Yep.
And you'll talk to the client about replacing, some replacement for the 11 trees?
I think we'll do some trees and mix of trees and shrubs.
We'll propose something.
Yep.
And that will essentially become a planting plan, which you'll come up with some kind of a proposed planting plan.
Correct. Yep.
Okay, that's like Okay, so those are the items I have. Did anyone else have anything else?
No.
Could I have a motion to continue the hearing for 4 Ledgewood Drive to our meeting of April 24th?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? 500.
Got a question for the chair.
Yeah.
Is the owner is on, do you have to make a note of that, or does it matter?
For what?
Because, isn't it?
You already did.
You did, okay.
Before the meeting started.
Okay, got it.
Just announced that this is one of our members.
Yeah, he,
Oh, I did. I mentioned it,
Yeah.
at least for transparency's sake, sure. Okay, so I think the next meeting, obviously, if you can't make the next meeting or it's not ready, then you would go to the next one and we'll continue it to then.
I'll make the next meeting. I'll have materials in within a week.
okay, thanks, Jack.
Thank you for your time.
That's perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, next we have,
Let me just make a note that I did watch the last 3 videos on our meetings here.
oh, you've been busy today. Okay, notice is hereby given that the commission will hold a public hearing, during which time we'll take all information related to a notice of intent filed by Ramil Shah for the demolition of a dwelling and construction of a new dwelling at 238 Fox Hill Road in Burlington. The proposed work would be within the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetative wetlands pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, which is the State's Wetlands Protection Act, and Burlington Bylaw, Article 14. The commission will review all information relative to the application and may issue an order of conditions and a Burlington Wetlands permit. The application material is available at the link on the Conservation website. All right, so same procedure as the last one. We will ask you to identify yourself, who you're affiliated with, and then you start talking.
Sounds great. For the record, my name is Andrew Tebow. I'm a wetland scientist with Goddard Consulting, and I'm the representative on behalf of the homeowners, Ramil and Anita Shah. So the commission has received a notice of intent to tear down and rebuild an existing single-family house on this property. The homeowners are current residents of Burlington. They live down the road, and they have bought this property for the purposes of constructing their forever home and moving their family in. As part of the design, Goddard was retained back in December of 2024 when we realized that there was an intermittent stream on the property. I know a few of us got to take a look at the property yesterday. As we see on my paper plans, a bit off-site on the neighboring property.
Andrew, you could probably bring that up,
Oh, I'd be happy to if that works for you.
just so they can see.
Yeah.
Although Lucy will probably share as well, the plans. Thank you.
Blocking anybody's view, but if this works for you guys.
Yeah.
Well, once Lucy is sharing, they'll be able to see on the screens anyway. Honestly,
All right.
they're not here for you, probably, most of them.
Fair enough. Is that okay with you guys then?
That's great.
Perfect.
So you can just point if you'd like with your finger or whatever.
So I'll move it back so I can see it just out of my peripheral, and that should be good enough for me. So the stream I'm talking about in question is right here. It actually formulates right on the neighboring property. It
Yes.
comes from a catch basin that's in Fox Hill Road. We took a look at the surrounding area to see if there were any upgradient resource areas or any wetlands feeding it. We were not able to find any. It seems that there is a catch basin in the road that directs stormwater outfall and forms this intermittent stream right on the neighboring property. However, we had to delineate this as it would put a buffer zone onto our property. So as we see on the existing survey plan, the 20-foot no disturb line is where you see my finger here, the 40-foot no build zone, and the 100-foot buffer zone. So at present, the single-family house that's on the property is primarily within the 100-foot buffer zone. It encapsulates most of the lot, but it does not encroach on the 40-foot no build zone. One thing that is important to note with this application, under existing conditions, the previous home on the property was managing a bit of lawn and landscaping within that 20-foot no disturb zone that we took a look at yesterday on our site walk. So I colored up my existing conditions plan to make it much fancier than the survey plan. So what the applicants are proposing to do is raise the existing single-family house on the property and build their new home as seen here. With this, it involves expanding the house. The current house is about 1,700 square feet. The engineer has it at 1,734. The proposed is 3,444 square feet. The driveway is proposed to come onto the opposite side of the property now and enter from where we see here. We actually had a good question on the sidewalk yesterday of why that driveway was being flipped. I had a good conversation with the engineer last night. Although he's on vacation and not with us, we were able to talk about some of the comments that we have so far. Because the homeowners here are looking to build their forever home, they're not just looking for a house envelope. They've already selected an architectural design and gone through the process to try to build their dream home. And they have found out that if you were to flip the design and leave the driveway where it is currently, the design they came up with would have clipped the 40-foot no-build zone a little bit. So that's why we flipped the driveway, to make sure that we can stay out of that. So the driveway feeds into the garage that we see here and the remainder of the single-family house. We've kept the house itself outside of the 40-foot no-build zone. We have it measured at 42.5 feet from the resource area. And as part of mitigation for the expanded development, we are proposing to revegetate the entire of that 20-foot no disturb zone. So at present, what we see here in pink, this is the portion of the no disturb zone on the property that was previously being managed as landscaping. There's a little bit of a retaining wall in there with some landscape plants. They were mowing up to the edge of it. So as part of our proposal, we will be replanting that. You'll see a significant mitigation plantings along the rear of the property. So as part of this development, we require the removal of 15 trees within the buffer zone. None of them are within the 20-foot no disturb zone. There is one within the no build zone, and the remainder are between the 40 and 100-foot buffer zones. A few reasons for this is that we conducted a test pit on the property roughly in the location that we see the rear of the house to find the estimated seasonal high water table for the basement. We found that to be about 99.5 feet to the seasonal high water table. So they do have to bring the grade up on this property about 4 feet to get it above the seasonal high water table. Now to do that, because this is somebody's forever home, we are looking to level out the lot, make sure the aesthetics are okay, but when we have to bring up a significant portion of the property. So it does involve about 2 to 4 feet of grading through the remainder of the property to be able to install what's a pretty significant subsurface storm tech system that's designed to take stormwater from all the roof downspouts, as well as French drains are proposed within the driveway, and they all route to the subsurface storm tech systems. It's a 12-chamber system, and a full stormwater report was submitted by Durgani Engineering Group. He simulated the 2, 10, 25, and 100-year storm events to ensure that post-construction conditions result in a reduction in both volume and rate leaving the site of stormwater. So as part of that 15 trees that need to come down, we have proposed a mix of 28 native trees and shrubs along the rear of the property. That includes restoring the 20-foot no disturb, but it also includes about a 10 to 12-foot strip surrounding the entire rear of the property. It's a mix of native oaks, pines, things that we're moving on the property, as well as incorporating new species that aren't currently on the property, like serviceberry, highbush blueberry, pink azalea, to try to introduce some more pollinator habitat onto the site. The site has a lot of large trees, but it lacks a shrubby understory, so the wildlife benefits at present are limited. So this plan was come up with to get a mix of some of the trees that are coming down are being replaced in kind, but we're trying to add some biodiversity to some of our plantings as well. So that's what I have for you at this time, and I'm happy to take any questions you may have.
Sure. Very good presentation, thank you.
Of course, thank you.
Eileen or Lucy, would you like to offer some comments on this one, please?
So as Andrew explained, and as everybody who was at the site visit saw, and probably Lucy's pictures also showed you, there is that stream off site that is probably largely stormwater fed. This, between the stream itself and the surrounding border vegetated wetland, it puts, there's a 100-foot buffer to either one. So a 100-foot buffer to bank or 100-foot buffer to border vegetated wetland, so it's pretty much coincidental. And it hits the whole, pretty much almost the whole property. My questions or concerns on this property are the estimated seasonal high groundwater is so high, it means he's going to really have to raise that the elevation above the chambers by 4 feet, which is absolutely massive. We were wondering if they have considered or would consider some kind of alternatives, like would it be any advantage to putting the chambers in the front yard? Have you considered something more like low-impact development, something like a rain garden, something like that kind of feature where you're just going into the backyard that's existing and you wouldn't have to take down the trees at all? Those were my main concerns that I think we should talk about.
Well, more specifically, there are 2 large oak trees on the property.
There are.
Okay, so the question would be, the function and the value of an oak tree that's been around for 100, 150 years is not easily replaced by a new planting. Okay? So a one-for-one doesn't even do it justice, but, I mean, that's what we do, unfortunately. So I think the question is, can maybe some combination of something which saves one or two of those two large trees, and then still can maybe even like a hybrid to accommodate your infiltration. It would result in a less than perfect level backyard for the ideal dream of a lifetime home, but the trees do have value, and they won't easily be replaced to that size in even this homeowner's lifetime, so. So maybe you could take that and discuss it and come back to us on it?
I'd be happy to discuss that. I can tell you that I did talk to the engineer about this last night. So after our site walk, I contacted the engineer. We had a good conversation about some of what went into his design, and he did look at the idea of rain gardens or more low-impact stormwater. Although I don't want to speak for him, to summarize our conversation, it was centered around that he felt that that would be difficult to manage and maintain on a property like this. With a large increase in impervious surface, we want to ensure that we can end in a net reduction in everything up to the 100-year storm event. Specifically also because on this property, sometimes we're just dealing with wetlands themselves that may become seasonally flooded. As this is an intermittent stream, it carries the water that leaves the site down gradient to quite a few other properties. And so we had taken a look at making sure that because we are regrading the site, we're regrading it in a way that still delivers stormwater to the stream. Water still leaves and generally flows in the same direction it does now. And we wanted to make sure that we can manage all of our stormwater with the increase and result in a net reduction with full confidence under an operation and maintenance plan. So that's why it's designed how it is, and his opinion was that the location and the category is sufficient here.
Can
I will
I
say-
summarize what you're saying then?
Yeah,
I think you're saying that an LID will not work for the, as proposed by the engineer. That's what he's saying.
yep. Yep, that was his opinion from our conversation.
What about the
that-
chambers in front that Eileen suggested?
I'm unaware if you took a look at chambers in the front.
Okay.
So that
And
is
also,
something that
could
is
you-
worth looking into.
Maybe you could take a look at the hybrid idea where a portion of the backyard is raised and the other is sloped gently across.
Yeah, we can take a look at that as well. So far preliminarily, I know we had a conversation on the sidewalk about the oak trees. Under the current design, as of now, they would require removal because of the regrading. We wouldn't be able to save those trees. I had discussed with the homeowner as well the potential for planting a few larger oaks. If we need to take down 2 very mature oak trees, then there is the potential to plant multiple more oak trees and to get those at a larger size perhaps than what we had proposed now. I don't know if the commission would be amenable to that, but as of now, we're proposing 4 to 6 foot oaks. I believe there's 2 red oaks, 2 white oaks. We're taking down 2, planting 4. But you can source trees that are taller than that would at least accelerate the regrowth on the back of the lot. So that is something we can look into as well.
What is the largest tree, or how many gallon oak tree would you recommend as being survivable?
Survivable, I have planted up to 12 feet. What can be easily installed by hand with a small crew for less impact, 8 to 10 feet tend to go very well. And they're a larger tree that's a bit more mature, they grow and settle in faster, and they can still be put in by hand.
Okay, thank you. All right, anything else, Eileen? On this one?
I don't entirely agree about the rain garden. I'm still very concerned about 4 feet. That is, I mean, that's like here. That's huge.
And I will mention that, of course, the engineer is on vacation this week and hasn't gotten to answer a few of those comments yet, but I'm happy to have him look into that.
Okay. All right, let's see what else comes up as we go. We'll do the same routine. Kent, first you, then Sadie.
Yeah, I mean, just the trees, it's concerning. I see like a lot of projects in town, you like at least appreciate that it's coming up now versus like after the fact, but I still think the number of trees, like to Larry's point, like it's hard to replace trees at 100 years, the amount of water that they take down, so I appreciate all the, you know, the infiltration and all that and the additional plantings, but I still think there's a concern with that where you're never gonna be able to take years to get back to the point where it takes the drainage, and then Eileen's point about the slope, that like 4 feet, that's a massive, massive amount. So I think I would like to see some compromise or alternatives, maybe less.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm happy to connect with the engineer after this and go over all these comments, so we appreciate them.
All right. Sadie, anything?
I'm curious about with that elevation change, if that would sort of like gently slope into the intermittent stream, or if it would leave sort of more of a bank area, or would it sort of just like,
She was reading my mind.
like would it, yeah, I'm glad, 'cause I was like, is that a crazy question? But like, would it be like, I'm worried about erosion, really.
Yeah, I hear you 100%. So we'll have erosion controls in the application. We specify them surrounding the entirety of the property and then also along the 20-foot no disturb line. So the goal is to separate from the stream as far as possible. We have the added benefit that we are planting and stabilizing the area upgrading of the stream, and because it's off-site, we won't be grading up to it. So we will be regrading the property to about the 102 contour that we see here, but the goal is to remain outside the 20-foot and keep that stable, and there will be a second set of erosion controls along the stream line.
Just one follow-up question for you too on the driveway. I think it said something about the driveway is going to be in the 20-foot.
So the driveway itself is,
40 foot.
there's a landscape wall right at the edge of the driveway that's 20.5 feet away. So it was designed to be just outside, but it does go right up to the 20-foot.
Admission. It's not a structure, but I don't know.
It's not, you don't need a building permit for a
not
driveway, so that
even-
means it's okay in the
Yep.
build.
Yeah.
And even a low wall is probably okay, because it's not considered
Okay.
a structure.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's not structural. It's just a landscaping wall. It's just for aesthetics. Yep.
Yeah, Sadie, I'd like to state, I have the same concern regarding what the slope looks like and therefore the concern for erosion into the stream.
Yep.
Okay? Exactly the same thing.
What I can do
Maybe you
is-
could just provide something like a profile so that we can see.
Absolutely.
And it might put my mind at rest too.
I'd be happy to do that for you. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can have the engineer do that, and then I will also have the erosion controls added onto this plan set that we see here, so we can visualize them as well. So we can do both of those, absolutely.
Okay, all right. Ed?
It's interesting because you can see it in some of these pictures here. Obviously, there's a tree concern that we've looked at, a lot of different ways, but just look at the shade that some of these trees are already throwing out. And we haven't even got full-grown trees yet with leaves that could help pick and choose. Basically, what trees are really doing an advantage right now for giving you some shade. There's some good pictures here giving us that answer. I think everything else pretty much been covered. I just happen to see that helps with picking what trees.
Understood, thank you.
All right, all right. Rob?
I guess I'm just sort of looking at the driveway, and I think I'd like to see a little more detail, maybe about that, the retaining wall and the elevation on either side. If it is, like how much is retaining on the high side versus the low side, because it does look like it's right on the property line.
Essentially, you're asking for a profile?
Yeah, I think that'd be good with the French drain, and because I hadn't seen the plan with the additional plantings and the 40-foot, and I think that's great, but it seems like, I mean, it would be really good if the plantings could extend all the way along, I think, that side, but, or just have a little more detail about that French drain. It says, I guess, 6-inch perforated, and then
Yep.
going into the back, just to get a good, like a good profile view of that. Just, I guess,
Absolutely.
to see, how much runoff, if it is, 2% towards the abutter, and then, 8% towards the front. And we don't want to flood the street in the event of I guess there was a catch basin up there in the
I
street.
put it down as an action item.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. All right. Bill?
First, I'd like to say thank you for adapting the house to the lot by flipping it rather than leaving it the way you had it and asking for a waiver. Not everybody does that, so we appreciate that.
Of course.
And for considering wildlife benefits in your planting. I mean, that's a big factor that many people just look for visual and not for wildlife benefits. And white oaks are the single best tree you can plant for wildlife benefits. So I appreciate that. I am concerned about the slope. I mean, looking at the gradients of after the thing is done from the foundation at 106, there's a 6-foot drop between the foundation and the, in that short space of about 20 feet to the property line. So that's quite a gradient on the side there. If that can be reduced at all somehow or mediated, I don't know how to do it, but that's pretty significant. And
Between the driveway and the,
no, between the side of the house here and dropping down to 6 foot across there.
okay,
That's 106 and it's 100 down here, so that's
Right.
straight down towards the property line.
okay.
That's pretty significant. And the gradient in the back isn't as much. It goes from 106 to 102, so there's a 4-foot drop in the back of the house. If those gradients are going to be existing, I agree that I don't think a rain garden would suffice in the backyard. It would require intense maintenance to make sure it continues to function, and homeowners aren't necessarily great at doing that. So I would rather see the water go underground in an infiltration system.
Agreed.
That's all I have.
Okay. Okay, in your planting plan, you're showing plantings at the very rear of the lot and the side of the lot.
Yes.
And in that planting plan, you're raising the elevation, and is a river birch the best kind of tree to plant because they seem to need so much water? And is the homeowner going to be diligent about walking all the way to the back of his lot with his watering can or whatever to take care of it, especially the first year or two?
I hope he is, because in my planting plans, I put a 2-year monitoring within all of them, so I have to visit the property once a year for the 2 years after planting, and anything that's lost within that time has to be replaced. So it's always in there.
We would insist on that.
I think it's in the special conditions anyways, but I put it in there up front to make sure. The other thing is river birches actually are pretty common landscape trees. Although they are a wetland plant, they actually adapt really well to slightly drier conditions than a lot of wetland plants. That's why you see them in a lot of people's front yards. So in this area, with the actual seasonal high water table being pretty high, although we're bringing it up in elevation, I don't have any concerns for river birch
So
over
there's
there.
no concerns for it.
None on my end, I actually.
That's
Yep.
fine. You're trained and an expert. That's fine.
That's the goal, yep.
Okay, and you'll emphasize to the owner that he has to take, the first year especially, he has to take care of them because they will die.
Yeah, and most contractors, when they install them, they might do the first watering, and then after that, they tell the homeowner it's on you from here.
Yeah.
But I would be surprised if a home of this size and this price doesn't have a sprinkler system put in, an irrigation system of some sort as well, so.
It very likely will. It's my expectation. And because these will actually, it is a mitigation area, but it will be adjacent to the lawn, so with that, it would be reached.
But the groundwater is really high, so they may not need that. Okay, can I just interject that I forgot to say that he does have a fabulous, very detailed monitoring plan on there, and that I was very impressed with. Thank you.
Thank you, Eileen. Absolutely.
All right. That's actually good to know. Okay, I don't think I have anything else on this one. So let's go to anybody else who's here for 238 Fox Hill Road. Is there anyone? Yes, please come up. Now is the time.
Here, you can take that one.
All right, so please reintroduce yourself and where you live, and then please start talking.
Yeah, my name is John Porter. I live across from the property that you're discussing now at 237 Fox Hill Road. My wife and I have lived there about 30 years, I guess. We're very much looking forward to our new neighbor and mostly looking forward to the house. Frankly, we're a little concerned about the height of the house, but that's what people need to build these days. We understand that. I'm here really with one question and one request, and I want to put a little bit of context out there. In my time across the street from this property, I've witnessed a lot of water-based issues. I've witnessed neighbors' lawns flooded a foot deep. I've witnessed changes based on the removal of trees that impacted water downstream from those trees. And I've witnessed the intersection of Barnum Road and Fox Hill, which is where this house is going. I've witnessed that flood foot deep, probably 20 times in the time that I've lived there. Now, granted, that probably was due to leaves blocking the grates more than anything, but it still is something that, causes a concern for, for the neighbors. So in that context, my question is that with these Storm Tech drains that you've put in, what happens if they actually reach an overflow status? Is that what you were calling a pop-up emitter in an earlier conversation? If they get full, where does that water then go?
Yeah, so I can have the engineer take a look at the details here. Typically, those storm techs have an overflow system where what the engineer does is he calculates the impervious surface that's being increased on the property, and he sizes them for a 100-year storm event, which is a massive storm event. So the goal is that they won't overflow. They size them to hold a significant amount of water to make sure that the simulations they run will result in a net decrease of water leaving the property. However, they do have built-in overflows that if they do fill up, then the water would overflow and begin to percolate into the groundwater table. But the expectation is that you've sized the system to hold enough water that you have still decreased the amount that would have been entering at that rate with your post-construction conditions.
And the infiltration system is being designed for what year storm?
100-year.
And-
So he's reducing all storm events up to the 100-year.
Oh, so it'd be designed to not overflow up to a 100-year storm.
Exactly.
So could you please tell him how much rain that is?
Yeah.
100-year storm?
Well, that's the difference in the
10-inch storm
What?
event.
It's the difference between the house that's there now and the house that will be there. They've sized the difference.
Yes.
Yeah, it's sized for the difference. I think it's 8.9 inches in
I believe you're right.
24
Depends on
hours.
exactly which one you use. Yes, it's right around 9 inches.
Yeah, it's now about 8 point,
Yeah.
that's a lot of rain in 24 hours.
It's a significant amount of rain. So the goal is that it will never overflow, but if it does, then it just simply percolates in place.
Yeah, one thought that came to mind for me is that all of the neighbors in that area, we all have sump pumps, and some of those sump pumps run continuously. I have 2 sump pumps, and I wasn't sure where the estimated high groundwater table, being at 99.5 for your plan, and the basement floor being at 99.5 as well, and in your drawing there on the left side. It seems to me that the high water table is coming right up to the level of the basement floor, and therefore this owner would need a sump pump. And that sump pump water has to go somewhere too. So does that also go into the Storm Tech drains? And if so, have they been sized for, the addition of a sump pump?
Yeah, so as of now, there is no sump pump proposed. As of now, he's done a test pit and put the basement elevation above the high water table, so they're not anticipating to need one. It sounds like the engineer has a few things to look into for the commission, so that's another question I'd be happy to have him answer. Absolutely.
Yeah, it did seem like they were both at 99.5. You have the drawing in front of
Yeah,
you.
what does the building department require?
It just says above.
Above.
There isn't a specific separation, but as I said earlier, we have just witnessed a couple of issues recently where they have expected to not hit groundwater, and they hit it with the footings, so they're having to pump anyway. Just 1 or 2 places, not, because it's just tricky, so.
Absolutely.
Maybe you should err a little on the.
Okay.
Giving a little bit of separation.
Very good point.
And then I do have one request that may need ultimately to go to the DPW, but you were kind enough to share a map with me yesterday that showed how the 3 catch basins at the intersection of Fox Hill and Barnum, as well as pipes coming down Barnum for storm drain runoff, and I guess 1 pipe coming from part of Fox Hill, that they all divert to that wetlands area, I'm guessing through a 20 or 30-foot, pipe that's underground. If that pipe was put in a long time ago, and if we are, it's small.
No, the pipes are either, they vary in town between, 6 inches and maybe 2 feet. What, you meant in width, diameter?
Diameter.
Yeah.
Once all the construction is done, I think it would be nice if we could inspect that pipe to make sure that after 60 or 80 years or whatever it's been there, that it will continue to support, the water that it captures from all those catch basins and feed it into that wetland area. The failure of that pipe or the blockage of that pipe, perhaps due to age or whatever, I think would be devastating for that intersection and lead to substantial
Have you
flooding.
seen ponding or flooding at that intersection?
Only, in my opinion, due to leaf blockage on the grates. Once the leaves
Usually
are-
the first sign of that, of there a problem, where they would look into it, is when there's a symptom of the problem, where you would see it blocked up and are not draining properly.
Yeah.
I don't know what, I'm not sure what the protocol is for when a pipe, this would be this would be a town problem, I think, I suspect, wouldn't it?
Yes, it is. What you're asking for is really beyond the scope of this single-family project. The way it's designed right now, the water is being captured in chambers on-site and infiltrated on-site. It's not directing anything to the storm drain system. They're not proposing to use sump pumps, which they do often tend to go towards the roadway system that you're talking about. But that's really a DPW question.
Yeah, I thought perhaps some of the effort that was being done on the 238 site might help to warrant an inspection of that
No.
pipe, even though that pipe clearly is not on the 238 site. It's about 10 feet off of the
Right.
the property boundary.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you have concerns about it, who would they talk to in town or about a town pipe?
Well, it
DPW?
would be Tom Hayes, yeah. It would be the engineering department.
Okay, I'll work with Mr. Hayes. That'll
We
be,
actually opened up some manholes last summer and this summer, so we'll just look and see if that was one of the ones on our list. I mean, the Conservation Department did.
Just out of curiosity, I actually do that. Sometimes I go and I clean out things and make sure everything's working correctly in the stormwater system. So I'm wondering, because a lot of towns will do that on a yearly basis, they'll sort of clean out catch basins. Does that
Yes.
happen? Yeah.
Yes, we do that.
So it's typically periodically done.
But that wouldn't catch if a 60-year-old pipe had collapsed
No.
between
but
catch basins,
he's-
that's what his concern is.
Yeah, and he's correct that I believe typically it's when, not that it's like water's not being able to get into the catch basin, but you see water overflowing from the catch basin, that it appears that it's just not leaving. And that can happen also if it's blocked up. A lot of times old pipes get blocked by different things, but
yeah.
yeah, a lot of times it's sort of coming out of them, so. that-
All right, all set. Thank you very much for your...
Thank you.
Anyone else for 238? Oh, okay, please come up. All right,
Name is Thomas Suhu. I live at 240 Fox Hill Road.
yes,
Just want to know my concern that I currently have a sump pump and it runs quite often and already been flooded once since I've lived there.
Yes.
Just wanted my concern noted that the removal of the trees and the raising of the house might, result in water, more water.
you get water in your backyard.
It's kind of soggy, but not really, no.
Okay, all right, okay.
But I do have a sump pump that runs constantly.
Right, right. Very helpful, thank you. All right, someone else here? Yeah, come on up.
Hi, my name is Lauren Madron. I live at 236 Fox Hill Road, directly adjacent to the property at 238 Fox Hill Road.
Sure.
We purchased our home in 2024, and we have come to deeply appreciate the natural setting, particularly the proximity to the protected wetlands. I'm here to express my concerns regarding the proposed construction project, which includes building the 100-foot wetland, building within the 100-foot wetlands buffer zone, raising the grade of the property by 4 feet, and removing the 15 mature trees, relocating the driveway, and alternating the existing drainage patterns. One of my primary concerns is the storm water runoff and drainage. My yard and basement currently stay fairly dry year-round. My basement does not have a sump pump and does not get water. And the natural slope of the land appears to manage water effectively. Raising the elevation of the adjacent property by 4 feet risks redirecting surface water toward my home and my yard, potentially causing flooding and property damage where none exists today. I also see on the plans there's intent to install the stormwater chamber system, currently proposed for the backyard area, which is also within the wetlands buffer zone. I asked the commission consider relocating the storm chamber to the front of the property, where it'd be further from the wetlands and could potentially preserve more of the existing mature trees. This alternative location would minimize disruption to the natural environment and better align with the purpose of the wetlands protection regulations. I also have concerns with the maintenance of the proposed storm tech chamber. A stormwater management system like this is only effective if it's regularly maintained. Unfortunately, the project narrative does not include clear provisions or guarantees that the homeowner will be required to maintain the system. The narrative only suggests that the chamber should be maintained. Without a formal maintenance plan or legal guarantee, there is no assurance that the system will function as intended, potentially leading to increased runoff or unintended consequences over time. The proposed removal of 15 mature trees, many of which are likely old growth, is a serious concern. These trees play a critical role in absorbing groundwater, maintaining soil stability, and supporting local ecosystems. Replacing them with smaller trees and shrubs is not an adequate mitigation strategy, particularly given how long it takes for new plantings to provide equivalent environmental benefits. In addition, the proposal to relocate the driveway to the opposite side of the lot, which makes it closer to my home, raises potential issues related to the increased stormwater runoff and loss of privacy. The current configuration does not pose any concerns, and I would like to ask the Commission to consider the impacts of this change up to abutting neighbors. I would also like to bring to the Commission's attention the applicant's representative entered my property without notice to flag the survey of the wetlands. This was done without my knowledge or consent. Under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 266, this constitutes trespassing, as property owners must be given reasonable notice before anyone enters private land, even for environmental surveys. I take this seriously and raise it because it reflects disregard for standard procedures that should be respected with these types of projects. Lastly, the fact that this project involves work within a 100-foot wetlands buffer should, in my view, warrant the highest level of scrutiny. I urge the board to require a comprehensive environmental impact assessment with special attention to wetlands protection, stormwater management, and the cumulative impact of tree removal and elevation changes on neighboring properties. And thank you for your time, and I appreciate your dedication to protecting our town's wetlands and neighborhoods, and I appreciate the opportunity to share my concerns. And I respectfully request that the board take them into serious consideration during your review of the project.
So that is all written, that statement?
Yes.
Could we have a copy?
Of course.
There's a lot in there.
Of course.
Obviously, you spent a lot of time writing it. Okay. What was that? You were talking fast, so I
apologize.
I may not have caught it all. You had said something about entering property. I lost.
So
Will you
when
comment about that?
the survey was done of the wetlands, that stream that runs through is on 236's property. I was given no notice when they came to flag my property, and anytime they've been given no notice that anyone's going to come to my property at all. And so I actually didn't know that they were doing the survey until I got the notice from the town for this regarding the plans that were in that. But
Obviously, proper protocols to knock on the door and say, can I go there, and, here's what's going on. Usually you ask permission. Yeah. Okay, I understand. Okay, I understand now. All right, thank you, but I think a copy of it would be helpful, because you had a lot in there.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, anyone else for 238? All right, let's go over the list. There was a lot said here. Do you have a piece of paper, or you have it all?
I think I got it all.
Okay, well, then let me go over it, and you can just nod. How's that, if you're not taking notes?
Let's do it.
All right, the first is, we asked you to consider putting the chamber in front,
Yes.
okay, and instead of in back, instead of putting the water in the backyard. And we also asked for a hybrid contouring, right?
I'll do
Okay,
digital
to
notes
maybe
to make
save
sure.
some of the trees. And somebody asked for an erosion and slope profile into the stream. And something about shading along the stream are you replacing adequate shading along the stream, or which is what gives it habitat benefits and so forth?
Absolutely.
So you comment on that. More detail for retaining wall profile, right? I think a comment was made about possibly extending the plantings along the driveway. It helps absorb water. Okay. And one of my concerns was, did I go to everyone to ask questions? Yeah, I went to everyone. About if you are raising something 4 feet, to me, there's questions not only about the slope, but there's questions about water being diverted onto someone else's property, okay? And ask the engineer about the possibility of some sort of conveyance, like drainage swale, to ensure that water doesn't go next door in either direction, okay? And to evaluate whether a sump pump is needed, that's for the protection of the homeowner. If you're going to have it, I mean, what happens if the estimated seasonally high groundwater is now, turns out to be really 5 inches higher than the basement? You're going to have water. Let's face it.
Yeah, we'll take a look.
I have one question related to that. Was
Yeah.
the 100-year storm amount from the proposed new regulations that are coming?
I'll check in on that.
I'm pretty sure it was because Dan Giorgiani did them, and he's done a ton of stormwater ones for us.
Okay.
We've been requiring NOAA 14 for a while now,
Okay.
He tends to go to the more conservative measurements.
so he
Thank you.
probably did, but we can check that, Bill.
Okay, and I think that's it. And a question about what is needed to maintain the infiltration chamber.
And Johnny does a really good job with that.
He actually, we're both very impressed with the O&M plan that he
Okay.
provides. And just to
Does it
reassure
have, I didn't look at, does it have enough detail in it?
It's got a lot of detail about how the homeowner himself, what to do, because nobody ever knows, what do I do with this thing? And he says, poke the stick down, see what you can feel. So just to reassure you, one, that's actually pretty good, and two, if the commission agrees to it, that would be a comment, that would be a condition in the order of conditions, that they would have to adhere to that. And I'm going to make that a note about that, okay, to make sure it goes in there. Okay, 2 notes. Lucy made 1 too.
Okay. I think that's it. Did I miss anything?
That's what I had in my head. Those are
Anyone?
inclusive, and I appreciate them.
I think you got everything.
I just have a
Sheila.
curiosity
Yes.
question. Was 236 to the right of this property or the left? I don't know how the numbers.
As you face it, it's to the right.
It's to the right. If you're facing the property, it's to the right.
Yeah.
That structure that's in the backyard, was as low into that crevice of where the stream is?
No.
That's not the same property?
Our shed?
Yeah.
We have a shed, and we have a bridge that goes over the stream, and then the shed.
Okay.
Was that there when you bought the house?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so could I have a motion to continue this hearing to the April 24th meeting of the Conservation Commission for the property at 238 Fox Hill Road?
So moved.
Second?
Second?
All in favor? 500. Thank you all for participating.
Thank you all for your time.
Yep. All right.
When were you ready to make a note? You want to tell Larry what the one is?
I wanted to tell Larry, Larry, on your agenda, does it say Brantwood? It says Brantwood Road, but it's actually Brantwood Lane. But your legal ad says it correctly, so don't worry about it.
So read it the way the legal ad says.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
It's a great guy.
Okay, let me see if I, all right, we're on item number 6. Notice is given, the commission will hold a public hearing, during which time we'll take information related to a stormwater erosion sedimentation control permit filed by Sean McSheffrey for the demolition of a dwelling and the construction of a new dwelling. This is located at 3 Brantwood Lane. The application's being heard under the State Wetlands Protection Act. Oh, no, it actually is heard pursuant to Burlington Bylaw, Article 14, Section 6. The commission will review all information relative to the application and may issue a stormwater permit for the proposed activity. The application material is available at the link on the Conservation website. Good evening.
Hi, everyone. My name's Sean McSheffrey. I'm the owner and the GC for the project. I'm representing myself here tonight as my engineer is at the tasting for his daughter's wedding in a couple weeks, so I wasn't going to say no to that one. We're here proposing a new dwelling at 3 Brantwood Lane. The previous dwelling contained around 2,313 square feet of impervious space, while our proposed new dwelling would be around 4,960 square feet of impervious space, which is a greater than 10% increase of impervious space in relation to the lot size, which I believe is why we've triggered the long-form permit instead of the short form. We dug 8-foot test pits at the site and did not find any water, so we are not quite aware of where the estimated groundwater is, but it is below 8 feet. The soil was found to be fine sand with cobbles. My engineers proposed a full roof drain system with downspouts feeding into a 9-unit Cultec system prepped for the 100-year storm. The driveway plan is to have a 3-foot pervious strip at the end, as well as a crushed stone trench along the right side to take advantage of the natural pitch of the lot in that corner. Hoping I can answer as many questions as possible. If not, I will have to get back to you once I consult with my engineer, so.
Got it. Good, thank you. All right, Lucy or Eileen?
Yeah.
She's a stormwater queen now.
I'm the stormwater permit now. This is a pretty standard stormwater permit, standard stormwater permit. Here we are. But the only reason that we brought this in front of you is because it is 13% increase in impervious, whereas anything between 5 and 10 is in my world.
Abbreviated permit.
Abbreviated permit.
Right.
It is a pretty substantial new house. We are very lucky that the groundwater table is not even detectable, which is a nice change for Sean, I can imagine.
Certainly.
In this plan, we don't have the proposed trench drain. Presumably that's going to be added.
He noted it in the permit application. It's not added to the plan yet, but will be.
Okay. That was my only big concern with this. The system is sized up to reduce rate and volume up to the 100-year storm. It's an easygoing project as far as I'm concerned. I have no big concerns.
No concerns.
Yeah.
All right. Kent, anything on this? Sadie? Ed?
Driveway, is there a pitch on the driveway and what direction is it going?
If you're looking at the house, there's a slight pitch to the lot from left to right. So the driveway will be front right corner, which will keep that same kind of natural pitch, and we'll put the crushed stone on that side.
Okay.
So it should catch it in pretty much a natural.
Can you see the little hand on the screen? Oh, you probably can't.
Yes, right.
Yep.
It's got a
I'm really impressed how you put this house with the lot.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody's finally utilizing a lot size to put a house that you've designed here. It's great.
Thank you.
Okay, Rob?
No.
Bill, anything on this?
Just my usual concern for trees. Now, I understand nothing was actually planning to be cut for this project?
There was one very small sapling in the front that was removed during demolition, and nothing else will be taken out.
Do you have any kind of a planting plan for the finished product?
Not yet, but we always put in full landscape plans with trees and flowers and mulch beds and everything. We fully landscape the properties.
Okay, I would encourage you to put in some trees and to make sure that they're true natives.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Nothing else?
Nope.
Okay. I don't see any issues with this project. To do a house of this design, did you use an architect?
Yes. Yes. Early in my career, I just bought a house and put it on the plan. Now I buy the lots and find a house that fits it well, taking advantage of sunlight,
And so
looking out the windows.
has input from an architect, is what I'm
Yes.
saying.
Yes.
Would you do me a favor and pass the name to the office? Because someone asked me today if I could come up with some names of
Sure,
architects.
yeah.
I appreciate
Yeah.
that.
Henry's great. He's done
So I
my
said,
last
well,
thing for
I
us.
happen to know a guy in Brentwood who looks like
Yeah.
he's doing something pretty creative, so maybe he has an
Appreciate
architect that
that.
has, quite a bit of smarts.
I'll pass his contact info over to Eileen.
Thank you, appreciate that. Okay. Lucy?
Do you want
Yep.
Well, you're all set. So is there anyone here for number
to say that?
3 Brantwood Lane that wants to say something? No. All right, so I guess,
We thought you might be, given that it's pretty
Yeah.
simple, we thought you might be open to.
yeah,
closing
I
the
was
hearing.
thinking of that. We have a draft decision. I didn't hear of anything requiring further action by you,
Perfect. I like
so
that.
that doesn't always happen.
We could just
Okay.
add a little note to just,
Make sure we add the trench.
exactly, the
yes.
trench drain,
In
yeah.
fact, that almost never happens. So, Lucy, would you do a quick review of this, please?
Yeah.
I'm just going to.
Sounds good. These are a lot like the ones you get from us.
Sure.
already, but I will read through it because they're a little funkier. I did make the change, we got one change from Sean about the owner is technically an LLC.
Does Sean, have you seen a copy of this?
Yes,
Oh,
yeah, just
all
the
right.
draft, yes.
So I'm going to make that change. This just describes the project as you described it and the history of filing and how we've posted the public hearing notice, the legal ad. This describes the stormwater management, so there is an increase in impervious area of 2,645 square feet, or 13.2% increase. It is directed to a field in the rear of the property that is designed for the 100-year storm, reducing rate and volume. Let's see.
When you say 13% increase, you mean 13% of the lot?
Of the lot.
Okay, because that looks like those two numbers are compared and there's only a 13% increase, the way that would read, and that's not the case, right?
Oh, do you want to just add the words "of the lot"? We can do that. It's easy. Increase of impervious on the lot. She'll add something like,
Yeah,
she'll add
that's fine.
an extra couple of words.
Thank you.
I'm just going to highlight it.
Yeah.
We're going to look at that when it's not this time of day. It does not release you from complying with other local laws. A copy of this permit should be provided to any person on site doing work you're going to be around. This provision says we should be notified a week prior to commencement of construction and to schedule a pre-con meeting with one of us. Is that what we'd like to say?
Yep.
We do stuff like that, so it'll be good. It'll be great. We've done this a lot of times. It's weird to read these for stormwater permits out loud. We have some things on pollution prevention, so dumpsters shall be brought to the site while demo and construction are ongoing. Demo's done. They should be covered at night. During and after work on this project, there should be no spillage or discharge of oil or other pollutants in the event of a spill of any kind, any quantity of the site. Is that true? Isn't it 5 gallons or more, or is that just wetlands?
That's for DEP.
Okay.
5 gallons means DEP.
You shall notify someone. I think that could be like a drop.
Just continue.
Continuing, sorry. If there is visible evidence of strong odor or hazardous substances, notify Concom or Board of Health. For erosion controls, they are already staked in sight. This just says what you need, what you've done. No other work shall begin until they are in. They are in. We reserve the right to require additional erosion controls, and we will let you know if we want them. You can't have any runoff or erosive material going into the streets. You will be responsible for cleaning up. Materials that are stockpiled at the site. Oh, this is incoherent. Don't let it run into the street. If there's going to be a lot of rain, cover it up.
Just that it's probably, she'll say material shall be stockpiled at a location, that's all. That's okay, we'll tweak that.
Though dewatering is not anticipated, if it is happening, you need to talk to us about it and we'll make a plan. Grading shall be completed in a way that will not direct additional runoff on any of the properties. I don't believe you're doing any big grading at this property.
No, very little.
Sweep if there's stuff in the street. Protect catch basins with silt sacks. Is that something that you're looking to require?
Yep.
Great, we can do that. There is a performance guarantee of $2,500, so it's a little more than the abbreviated permit. You've already paid some of it to us because you originally filed under the abbreviated. The last thing, and then I wanted to ask the commission about this one, is this is from a previous single-family home that you did a stormwater permit for, a full stormwater permit. You did ask them to include spot grades of the driveway to show that the driveway pitches. Is that something you're looking for with this one?
Yeah, I mean, he's the GC, so I assume you'll be there when the guy is there.
Yeah.
But in the event that they start doing it and you're not there, you want him to know that it,
Is required.
what the grading is required on the driveway.
This was for the as-built.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, this is for the as-built. Okay, all right, so, does the plan as it's here, does it need spot grades?
No, well, it's very clear, the pitch is very clear on this plan.
All right, okay, all right.
Perfect.
All right, so if anything from the commission on it? Motion to approve the stormwater permit for the project located at 3 Brentwood Lane, Burlington. Second?
Second.
All in favor? 500. You're all set, good luck.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate your time. Have a good night.
You too, good night.
Bonds, do you want to vote on that?
Oh, yes,
Thank you.
we have a bond.
Yes.
You've already given some, but
Your dues.
should total, the 2,500 is recommended for the cumulative total.
Okay.
All right, could I have a motion to require the posting of $2,500 performance surety under Burlington bylaw, Article 14, Section 6, for the project at 3 Brentwood Lane?
So moved.
Second. 2,500, yes.
We'll do some math.
All in favor? 500.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great night.
Yeah,
Thanks, Sean.
all right. Next, we're on item 7, continued public hearing, 5 Lucaya Circle, Maryland, Livorno, construct addition to a dwelling, DEP file number 122-716.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
U.S. Environmental Services.
Yes. Okay, so how are you tonight?
I'm lovely, thank you. It's Thursday, Mr. Chairman.
And she's looking forward to more excitement at our hearings, right?
We had a good one last time.
Thanks for looking up. It's the end of the week, right?
Well, tomorrow's Friday.
Okay, so these are just colored hard copy plans that were
Oh, that's great.
submitted
Thank you,
as
thank
part of the package to the commission.
Yes.
Okay, so last time I was here, the commission had requests some additional information to be shown on the plan. So we specified on the plan that we're proposing to repave the driveway. Part of the project includes expanding the driveway, so we're proposing to repave the entire driveway.
Yes.
Spot grades and arrows are shown on the plan to show where the driveway pitches towards the infiltration trench. We also extended the infiltration trench to the roadway. Commissioner had requested a cross-section of the driveway to be shown, so that's been added to the plan. DEP has provided comments. Apparently, they don't like flood vents with sheds, so you were correct, Mr. Chairman. So as a result of that, we eliminated the shed, because if we were to keep the new shed, it would have been 4.5 feet above the ground, and it's just not practical. So we eliminated the proposed shed, and we'd like to keep the existing shed that's on the property so that the homeowner has some use of a shed. In addition, the commission requested an alternative analysis, and I'm happy to go through it. We went through it verbally at the last meeting. And I believe that addresses all of your concerns. I updated the notice of intent form. I updated the notice of intent report as well.
Good, thank you.
Sure.
Eileen or Lucy, any further comments? Is there anything missing from your perspective on this one?
No, there wasn't. We weren't absolutely sure everything would come in and that you would be happy with the shed and everything. We did actually draft permits, but we didn't send them to the applicant this time just because we weren't sure where we were going to go at this point. We did send them to you guys just in case you want to do that. I think at this stage, I'm pretty happy. I don't mind the idea of them leaving the shed at this point. We made the point that they were going to have trouble with the shed, and they did indeed, so.
Have trouble with the shed? Yeah.
That other shed is already there.
Let me ask you, if there's an existing shed, given the
I do have a question, sorry.
given the existing shed, given that DEP had a problem with putting a new shed in, if they were to renovate or rebuild the existing shed, That doesn't trigger the need for vents, does it? Let's say it needed to be
Nobody
repaired,
has to really know about renovating your shed.
so
So
DEP
they
doesn't
just-
know.
They're not going to tell DEP, and they're not going to tell me if they're renovating their shed.
Oh.
I'm not saying they should, I'm just saying, for something absolutely, something like that, they're
If you
not,
don't need a building permit, we're not gonna know.
yeah, it's true. But my question that I forgot to ask.
What did you say about a building permit,
If
Lucy?
they don't need one, we won't
If
know.
if you don't need one, we wouldn't even know.
I'm sure you heard that, right?
I heard that.
Okay.
She said. I did have a question about, maybe it was clear somewhere and I missed it. How many plantings, you were just saying planted with native shrubs, but I wasn't sure how many or what we were talking about. Was that written somewhere and I missed it?
So we're proposing 6 native shrubs. We originally, when we proposed to remove the shed, we were going to put 2 shrubs there, but since we're going to keep it, we eliminated those 2 shrubs, but,
Oh, so each of those blobs is just one? It literally is 6?
right.
Okay.
Is there anything more needed from your perspective?
No, I don't think so. I think they provided everything you had asked for and.
All right.
and
Let's see if there's any
concerns.
last-minute things. Kent, anything further? Sadie? Ed? Rob? Bill?
No.
No for me. All right, this is a hearing. Anyone have a comment to offer? This is a public hearing for 5 Lakaya Circle. No. Okay, we have draft documents. We'll review and then vote on them.
Okay, I actually have to wait for Lucy to share them because I can't onto my drive at the moment. But any moment, we will fly through them. Maureen, you've seen these before loads of times, and there's nothing new or dramatically different in them, so.
Would you like to drive on my computer?
Sure.
They're not shared, you're gonna have to do that.
Okay. Oh, they're not shared.
But they are open.
Where are they? Got it. Sorry about that. Okay, here we go. So this is describing a project to construct an addition, 18 by 30 approximately, expanded driveway, installation of chambers, fencing, native plantings within the riverfront area of Sawmill Brook, bordering land subject to flooding, which is BLSF, or also known as the FEMA floodplain, and the buffered vegetated wetland. Both the addition and the deck will be elevated. An existing shed, which will remain now, is located approximately 29 feet from the stream. A total estimated fill of 312 cubic feet between elevations 123 and 124.3 would be balanced with a compensatory storage area of 320 cubic feet at the same elevation and within the same reach of Sawmill Brook, and having an unrestricted hydraulic connection to the waterway. The Commission finds that the compensatory flood storage proposed meets the standards for incremental compensation under 310 CMR 1057-4. Yeah, that's right. The project proposes a 10.5% only alteration of the riverfront area. It's dropped a little bit from 2 weeks ago because of the shed mainly.
Because of the shed, right.
But would provide 410 square feet of riverfront mitigation in the form of plantings for the additional 165 square feet of alteration over the 10% allowed in compliance with 310 CMR 1058-5F. So the work was within riverfront area, BLSF, and 100-foot buffer to BVW. We went through the filing history. The plan references were the plan that we shared here right now and was last revised April 3rd. The notice of intent also revised, and a revised plan letter addressing comments provided by the Commission and DEP. The next part that we really get to here is the stormwater management. It is not, it's exempt from the stormwater standards, but they are proposing to infiltrate into chambers, into at least one Cultec contractor 100 chamber. I assumed it was one, but we just said at least one, or equivalent. Again, the Commission finds there's no feasible alternative location for the addition that would have lesser impacts on the riverfront area. Further, the Commission finds that the restoration of 2 areas to include planting with native shrubs compensates for the alteration. Work was in BLSF. The Commission finds compensatory flood storage proposed meets the standards for incremental compensation. The applicant is responsible for obtaining all applicable permits. And scrolling down, in this case, it's in both the bylaw and the order. We're requesting, at least, with everybody's approval, hay bales with fabric fabric filter fence because that's what we typically require so close to a stream.
Okay.
But we can talk about whether we could do something like compost tubes if you prefer, if that's easier. They're both very sturdy. I like them. I like both options. And then no pesticides, herbicides, or chemicals should be used basically across your entire property. We're suggesting a bond in the form, a bond of $3,000 for this one. Okay, let's see. Switch over to the order. Order is referencing the same plans and notice and letter that we referred to. Maureen's aware all these first few conditions are completely standard. We do reference that this order permits work within the riverfront area, within the floodplain, and within the buffer to bordering vegetated wetland, but no work within any other resource area has been permitted by this decision. I think we've covered every single resource area there, well, most of them, so most of them on an inland situation. Scrolling down, the pre-construction conditions are that you let us know a few days before that you're ready for us to inspect on site to make sure those erosion controls are in place, your DEP sign is in place. You'll need to give us evidence that the order has been recorded at the Registry of Deeds and that the bond has been paid at that point. Here's where I highlighted that we were requesting staked hay bales and fabric filter fence. Larry, I was just saying that we require that usually on something so close to a river, a stream. Materials shall not be, this was highlighted just because this is a standard condition, but I have no idea how you can, we're going to have to tweak this one, so I want to do it with the commission. Ordinarily, we say materials should not be stockpiled on site within the BLSF, but that's pretty much impossible for you.
Right.
So I think we'll just have to say materials shall be stockpiled as far away as feasible, something like that from the resource areas?
Right, it's the only thing you can do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Sorry. I'm just writing part of it and then we'll remember what the rest is. No dewatering permitted on site, but if you need to, send us a plan to approve.
Okay.
Keep the roadway clean. We reserve the right to require additional erosion controls should we notice that those are failing. No additional grading beyond what's shown on the plans, which is, for the compensation area, and whatever other grading was on there may be applied. Anything that falls into the wetlands or the stream shall be removed. Nothing should be dumped in the brook or the wetlands, and the condition will be noted on the certificate of compliance as existing in perpetuity. The next few are just the standard ones about spillage on site and using fuel on site. So the last batch is the floodplain conditions and stormwater management and riverfront area conditions. The runoff from the rooftop will be managed using one or more, supposed to say more or more rather than of more, Kotex C100 chambers. Responsibility for the maintenance of stormwater features is to be the responsibility of the homeowner and any future property owners, and that will be in the certificate of compliance as existing in perpetuity. No filling or grade change permitted within the floodplain other than the approved compensatory storage, and that shall remain in your certificate of compliance. No removal of trees is permitted by this decision. Should you feel like you need to remove any trees, come back to us. I had written X number of shrubs because I apparently couldn't read that was 6 shrubs, so that's what that's going to be. 6 native shrubs shall be planted in 2 areas within 20 feet of the bank and BVW. The shrubs shall be monitored for 2 full growing seasons, and those that fail to survive within that time shall be replaced. No occupancy permit sign-off shall occur prior to establishment of the shrubs. And that'll be on the COC. And we were wondering if you wanted any sort of fence, or are you good with the way it's shown as is? I'm not insisting that it goes in there unless...
Yeah. How does the commission feel? I thought the shrubs were, 6 shrubs along the line there seemed to be. Anybody feel strongly that they need a fence in this situation?
No.
I don't think you have one right now, right?
No reason.
A fence before the stream?
No.
Are you looking to put in a fence, like a post and rail fence there?
On that side, no.
No, okay.
Well, I can remove it if you are confident that they will just maintain their buffered area now that they've put so much time and effort into it. Well, I can remove
Yeah,
that.
I have no plans on putting, I like how open and I can see the nature.
I don't hear any sentiment from the commission.
Well, there's just no mowing behind the shrubs. That's the main idea.
Yes, no, I get it. I won't, I
I
won't.
mean, you probably like the wooded look anyway.
I do.
Yeah,
I
so
do.
I mean, I agree with that.
Right.
Well, I can say that we plant in 2 areas within 20 feet of the bank and DVW. Let's just put it into this one, no mowing behind that line.
All right.
I might say it in a nicer way for the actual behind that line.
Okay.
And then the rest is just how you go about getting your COC.
All right. Is there any comments from the commission on any of the documents that she just reviewed? All right, could I have a motion to close the hearing for 5 Lakaya Circle for DEP file number 122-716? So moved. Second?
Second.
All in favor? 500. Could I have a motion to approve the findings under Burlington Bylaw Article 14, Section 6, as discussed for 122-716?
So moved. Second.
And this is under also the State Wetlands Protection, no, it's not, it's under the bylaw, okay, for the findings. Okay, there's a motion, all in favor? All right, could I have a motion for 5 Lakaya Circle, DEP file number 122-716, to adopt the order of conditions under Burlington Bylaw Article 14 and the State Wetlands Protection Act? Second?
Second.
All in favor? Same vote. Could I have a motion to request that a performance surety be posted in the amount total of $3,000 for the length of the project under Burlington Bylaw, Article 14, Section 6, for DEP file number 122-716?
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor? Same vote.
Great.
You're all set.
Thank you for your
Good luck with the project.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay, next, we have, let's see. Notice is hereby given, the commission will hold a public hearing, during which time we will take information. It's related to an abbreviated notice of resource area determination filed by the town of Burlington for the review and approval of the boundaries of bordering vegetative wetlands and stream bank at 123 Cambridge Street in Burlington. The application is being heard pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, which is the Wetlands Protection Act, and Burlington's bylaw, Article 14. The commission will review all the information relative to the application and afterwards consider issuing an order of resource area delineation. The application may be viewed at the Burlington Conservation website by clicking on the link to download the information. All right, so we did have a site visit out there. I understand that what's going on? Is there people? There's people, right?
Oh, they're presenting online.
I think they're presenting online, yes.
Yes.
And we had a site visit, and I understand that you and John Keeley, our former administrator, with their people, took a more detailed look as well.
We did, yep.
All right, so maybe we should hear from these people first.
Yep.
Who, if you're online, it seems like they are, should introduce themselves and who they're affiliated with, and then they can start talking.
Great, thank you. I'm Michelle Callahan. I'm a senior project manager with Niche Engineering, the civil engineer for the Burlington High School project.
Yes.
I'm here with Andrea. I'll let her introduce herself.
Hi, Andrea Kendall, senior environmental scientist with LEC Environmental Consultants.
Great, thank you. Nice to see you. The floor is yours, or in this case, the virtual space.
Thank you very much. Will I be able to share my screen with the aerial photo? That might be helpful to look at.
Your presenter?
Yes, do you have the share button?
Yes.
Great, then you're good.
Okay, perfect. Great, let's see here. Okay, can you all see this?
Yes, we do. You might want to
Okay.
blow it up, right?
Okay. Okay, so I'll start with just a quick overview of what we're going to talk about today, and then I'll turn it over to Andrea, the wetland scientist, to get a little bit into the details. So,
I'll mention, if anybody is here interested in this particular proceeding, you can adjust your chairs so you can see better if you'd like. I mean, I don't know how you can see it from way back. So feel free to move around. And obviously, you can use the chairs in front, no one's using them.
You can go ahead, Andrea.
Go ahead, please.
They're just adjusting themselves in the room.
sure, yeah, no problem. So this is actually our second ANRAD application made. If you remember, we were here earlier, late last year, to delineate the first set of wetland flags around the site. So those are all the ones kind of shown in the screened color here. We're back today because the limit of work or proposed anticipated work might be changing, and so we wanted to delineate the additional wetland flagging around the existing field area. So those are the wetlands shown here, here in green. So we're focusing mainly on this area of the site here today. So I'll turn it over to Andrea to get to a little bit more detail.
You might want to use also a larger pointer on your screen, too, to help people see what you're
Okay,
talking
thank
about.
you. Yes, I'll try to do that.
Great. Michelle, can you zoom in a little bit more? Might be helpful. So just for orientation, the right-hand side of the screen is north, up is west, down is east, and then south is to the left. We delineated these wetlands last month, and some sections were consistent with the prior delineation where they occurred at the toe of former fill slope. So that is mainly the area to the top of the screen. And then that's the 8 series wetland, and then to some degree, and I think largely for the 9 series wetland to the left. Things were, the portion of the wetland on the bottom of the screen did extend into the existing field. Even though there was some former fill in the field, that the hydric soils did occur within 12 inches of the surface. So by default, that did constitute that a wetland area. Given that this was a little different than, or largely different than the delineation that was done in 2013, that was the last time the commission reviewed an application for some activities in the field. I did ask my colleague, Rich Kirby, to meet John and Eileen, to review what I delineated, because sometimes there's some nuance to hydric soils and this particular criteria. So he accompanied that site walk, confirmed that what we delineated in the field was indeed wetland. There's actually going to be a couple of changes, 2 areas of slight expansion of the field to be included in the wetland. So that's something we're going to have surveyed and provided to the commission. Otherwise, on the far, I guess on the right side, the bottom, that otherwise the wetland line corresponded to the edge of the existing playing field. There is a bylaw jurisdictional regulatory stream that comes into the 9 series wetland, which is at the bottom, on the left-hand side of this of the stream of the wetland of the site, excuse me, and we got confirmation and some direction from the site walk that the edge of that mean annual high water for that bylaw stream needs to correspond with the maximum lateral extent of water, flood water. So we are going back out there tomorrow to delineate that segment, so which will, in this case, largely, if not entirely, include all of that cattail marsh area. So we'll also have that surveyed. Right now, we show an approximate riverfront area, which is largely based on the culvert head wall. In blue, there's this dashed blue line that goes across the field. So that will be removed and the riverfront area corrected. That is essentially it in a nutshell. Please ask questions, and
Okay,
happy to move on.
For the people that are here, there seems to be quite a few people here who are very interested in this. Is it fair to say the darker shade area is, by this delineation, determines it to be wetlands? Is that correct? The darker shading?
Correct.
All right, so you might want to show people with your point, sort of circle the areas for people with your pointer, so people are clear.
Sure. I don't know if I have, if you could see my cursor or if it's really run by, there we go, by Michelle. So on the top of the screen, in the wooded area, that's all wetland. And then it wraps around to the top, to the right-hand side, and that's all wetland. And then as we work our way to the bottom left of the, I guess it's a soccer field, I don't know exactly with the lines on it. South or bottom of that is a Phragmites transitioning to a cattail marsh.
Yeah, your pointer is not showing, actually. Sorry.
It is.
See, we can see it.
It
Oh,
is.
can you see? Oh, I don't see it on this screen, that's why.
It's very small, yeah.
Right side.
Oh, okay, it's there? I didn't see it. Oh, I see it. Okay, there it is. Okay.
Yeah, and as Michelle moves her cursor to the left and heads up, that's, there is a distinction between kind of the darker gray transitioning to a lighter gray. That's where it goes into the grassed field. And it wraps around a little bit of the shot put area and then comes back down. If people are familiar with where the shed is, that shows up where Michelle's cursor is. And then it goes back into the area characterized as the cattail marsh, and then there's a culvert that carries the stream flow into another smaller wetland system. And then that flows into the predominantly cattail marsh, and that flows to the top of the screen and then discharges again through a culvert into the forested wetland system and stream system in there.
Right.
And then it flows to the left. So hopefully that, yeah.
Can you point out how much of the currently mowed area is actually wetland? That whole lighter gray section?
The lighter gray section. And even though it's
Right.
mowed, the soils determined it to be statutorily wetlands.
That's correct. And then there's another smaller area in the top right-hand portion of the field that some of that maintained area as well will be included as wetland based on soils.
Okay, let's see if there are further questions or comments. Let's first go to either Lucy or Eileen. Are you satisfied, or is there a bit more things to take a look at here?
Well, we're largely satisfied. I went out and looked informally a week or two ago, and then I spoke to Andrea and Michelle, and we agreed that as explained, we agreed that Rich would meet us out on site, and he would review what they had done for LEC, but also with us, so that we could all review at the same time, which is a nice time saver. I am pretty much in agreement with most of the flagging that we saw on site. Not all of it's quite reflected on the new plan, right, that we're seeing. Andrea, we're not seeing the new tweaks, are we?
That's correct. No, we're going to be going out in the field tomorrow, and then followed by Niche. We'll survey locate those. So those are the two areas.
Where are the areas
In
you
red?
want tweaks?
Yeah.
Well, why don't I,
So this is basically what we were looking at before. This is if we rotated that. So where we were looking at the top of the field would be on this side now, the left field. So that little finger at the top, that's over here. And then this other section is down here. So it's basically if we took the plan we had and rotated it 90 degrees counterclockwise. That's what we're looking at now.
right, she was explaining that that part that was just up there that was visible, that's one of the areas that we changed some wetland flags with Rich on site. Oh, Andrew, can you go back to sharing not that one, but the one you had before?
You're gonna want to
This one?
point at that one because BCAT's gonna try and show it, and then it will do the void
Oh,
thing.
because I was trying to show for that.
Yeah, sorry.
Well, what ones can you see? Well, they can only really see this. I just wanted to be sure that these guys here just understand that this area here is actually mowed and used field, but it is actually wetland. And this isn't, the elements here aren't quite right. We're going to be changed right here, but it has flags and a change right there.
Yeah.
And also,
It's left
a change
and
here.
forward of the shed.
Change the
It's right in here.
stream.
It's very much.
That looked like it was anything they were short of the flags, so it's actually the way the bylaw is written. It's actually going to include all of this area here as streams, so the riverfront area will actually extend considerably further. Is that clear to you guys?
Thank you.
Okay, do you have more input, Eileen, on this at all?
No, there's also one area that I want to go back out and check because John and I talked about it. But I'll wait until they've reflagged. It was just the area behind the goalpost on the far right of this screen. It may be mowed, and that may be an area that we might want to ask them to stop mowing. I just need to just check it.
Okay. Let's see if there's any comments from anyone else. Kent, anything further? Right there. Sadie? Ed?
No.
Rob?
Lands are wetlands.
No.
Bill?
Just that this has certainly changed over the years. There's a lot more wet now than there was previously. You can see the lines on that that show the existing field, the practice field. And the only reason that's dry now is because in a previous application, they were allowed to fill it and recreate something somewhere else. So even that at one time was part of the wetland.
Okay. If you look at where the shed is, and you go to on the drawing, I don't know which way to hold it. If you hold it with north to the right, and you go to the left of the shed, and then to the west, it seemed to me, it was when I was out there, it seemed pretty mushy. And I was going to ask you to take another look at that area. The drawing I'm looking at is so small, I can't see the flag number.
Andrew, he means pretty much right where the hand is right now.
Yeah.
We just noticed that it was extra wet out there.
Where the
Exactly,
hand-
right there, basically.
Yeah.
Just wondered whether the flags.
And, not too far from the shed, but that wasn't flagged as wetland. But when we were out there yesterday, we were sinking in water, to be honest with you.
Yeah, we can look at that. We did, yeah, we poked a lot of holes. I don't know if they were inundated in some of the areas, but where you could see them. But yeah, we can look at that again.
Yeah, I'd appreciate if you take another look. And Eileen, are you going to be out there at the same time?
No, not necessarily with them.
Okay, all right.
Unless
Okay, so I wish I could see that flag. I can't see it.
Yeah, I can switch to the survey file that will
I have a big
show the actual
drawing here. I might be able to, if I can figure out.
She's gonna pull it up for you now.
Yeah.
You mean, you
So
just.
this is the shed right here.
Yeah, so if you put your cursor, blow it up.
What is that,
If you put your cursor, go down from the shed, and go down, 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 and go left.
The 18.
Yeah, and around 17 and 18. okay? And that area, particularly out from 18, we were standing, it seemed pretty wet in there.
So plan right or east, or?
To the right of Wetlands Flag 18,
East, yeah.
east.
Okay.
Okay. So we'd like you to, I mean, it may or may not reflect hydric soils, but it certainly reflected water.
True, yes. I think there's, with all the rain that we've had over the last week or so, things were not representative of when we were out there in March. But we did look at soils quite a bit, so
Yeah,
we'll have another look at that.
All right, and then the other thing is, are you folks satisfied that the wetlands to the north side, is it, yeah, there's no, I keep having trouble with this orientation.
At the top of the field?
Yeah, let's see. Where is the shed on this drawing?
It is, yeah, there's this one. That's only half of the plan.
That's half the plan, that's why I'm confused. Okay, this one.
The shed is right here.
The shed is right here. The wetlands, has the line to the very west where the trees are, that's been all delineated and checked?
I will say in that area, that all occurs at the bottom of a slope, the old fill slope.
Yeah, okay, so did you check into the field, in other words, is what I'm asking?
Oh, yeah, we looked at, so where the blue lettering is, that's the softball field.
Yes.
We did look at the soils there. We have 2 soil samples that we provided the data in the report, right to the immediately, I'll say to the left of the wetland, and then down gradient.
Yeah.
A few feet, and then within the interior of that field wetland, just to document that immediately to the left, it's upland.
So those flags on the western edge, you actually delineate, is that correct?
That edge, so in the woods, we delineated, yes.
Yes.
And then the western edge of the field wetland, we delineated looking closely at soils.
All right, so you're not relying on a delineation from the 13 years ago? I guess that's right.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Yes, we field delineated all of that last month. So none of this represents the 2013 delineation.
Got
It's
it.
all current.
Good, thank you for answering that.
Sure.
All right, so we're probably not quite ready to close on it yet.
No, because they have to go back out, check a few more flags and hang flags at the edge of the extent of high water for the stream under the bylaw. So I think we would be at the next meeting, however.
At the next meeting.
But we're largely in agreement with most of this.
All right, so everyone here has heard what we've had to say, but it is a hearing. So if you have a question, or we can put the question to these people and ask. Please come up and you state your name, you state your address, and then you start talking.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Joanne Frustacci, 6 Valley Circle, and a butter to the high school and town meeting member. So I had provided a couple of videos of significant areas where I was standing in 6 inches of standing water. I think you know, I can't really tell from that map, but
I do know
did you
where
cover it?
I do know where you mean. When we were out there yesterday what day was it? A few days ago with Rich Kirby, he had a tool called an auger where he was testing the soil, and we were looking at it as it came out. And I think we did 1 or 2 over there, and it wasn't coming up as hydric soil. It is a very wet area, but it wasn't technically wetland, right? Right where you and I were kind of bouncing?
Right.
Right, not there.
Yeah, it was deep. And then I just, I'm going to, a little visual aid. So,
Oh, we got a,
not me, but somebody who's a good photographer took this photo, and this was after one day of heavy rain. So, back here's the, well, you guys are probably better at maps than me. This is the
Practice field?
practice football field, and then these are the practice softball fields, I guess. Is that how you?
I think that's exactly what's now wetland.
Yeah.
Okay, because the person who took this photo, who's lived here even way longer than me, said that when there's more than one day of rain, that's double the width, so.
I think you're talking about this area
Okay.
here, that is,
Uh-huh.
that's running.
Right.
This is the extent of the, the cattails and the bulrushes and everything that you can see there. That's there.
Okay.
So if that's there, that area that is shown as standing water is part of this delineated wetland, yes.
Uh-huh. And then there's a little sort of access place with a gate. Is that what the purple thing is?
Yes.
So if this were to be proposed to be built on, as in an artificial turf field, I guess it would go over on the right, I'm guessing. Would that still be like an access in, and you just have to walk past the
I don't know,
wetlands
because
and around?
we're not really here to comment on
Oh,
design,
okay.
so that's up to you to answer, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
well, she
Through the chair.
kind of took the
Through the
words
chair.
right out of my mouth, that they are seeking us to, with their consultant, to set the boundary, and that sets the constraints on what can be done on the property. Beyond that, we don't go beyond that, okay, unless they actually submit a proposal to us. But it's not always the case that you have a very wet area that is statutorily determined to be a wetland. However, in this case, an area that they're mowing to within 1 inch, a substantial fraction of it is wetland.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Thanks very much.
Sure. Okay, anyone else would like to please come up. Good evening.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, thanks, good.
Thanks for your time. My name's Kevin Batiglio. I live at 7 Valley Circle.
Sure.
The path at the end of the street leads over to the gym at the high school.
Yes.
So I'm concerned the placement of the earth where they're going to propose to put this football field. The water goes downstream, we're downstream from it. I'm concerned that it could cause flooding issues.
Yes.
So, sounds crazy, but at one time there were some beaver dams, and you can't control that, but it did cause some flooding in my neighbor's property. Water got into the basement. It was kind of a bit of a nightmare. I just feel like with the amount of rain that we get, the storms are more severe. It seems like a saturated area of land. That's my opinion.
Yes.
Also, I'm concerned about the turf field with the pellets that can be released into the wetlands and contaminate the wetlands. And so where the field is now, at one point in time, I used to jog the track there, there was all pellets on the track from the field that just were in piles.
On the varsity field?
Yes, right, the current field. So I don't see how that wouldn't happen in the wetlands. It's just, I don't want it to be a toxic environmental site that could be really a nightmare for the town and the people that abut that land. It's real concerning.
Yes.
And I feel like this all can be avoided. I know you don't get into this, but the school committee has proposed 2 plans. The other plan is a brand-new school for the kids.
Yes.
That avoids all this.
Yes.
That does not move the field. And I just feel like it's forcing, because of the lay of the land is very difficult with the ledging, the wetlands, to take a field that's fine and then put a new one in and jam it into an area that normally, in my opinion, it never would be proposed unless they were between a rock and a hard place. I feel like it's a big mistake for the taxpayers, the abutters, and the town, and it could lead to some severe problems. So I appreciate your time and consideration, but I think that is a serious concern.
Okay. A couple of things. Not totally relevant to what we're doing here.
Yep.
But it is relevant to a hearing that's in process now to the commission known as Brush Field.
Okay.
Okay? Similar, your concerns, obviously, if they proposed an artificial turf field on the practice field, there would be the same concerns.
Right.
Okay. I'll make 3 points. The first is that, and then I'll ask our commissioners if they have any comments. The first is that this determination that is being determined, as it looks now, turns substantial area of mowed area to be designated wetlands by how we do it, how we're required to do it. So obviously, that cuts substantially into the dry area available for our building. So that's the intent, not the intent of the thing, but that's the effect of what's happening with what we determined. The second item is that you are quite correct about artificial turf and tire crumb rubber. It has substantial amounts in the tire crumb rubber material of heavy metals, polyaromatic hydrocarbons, and semi-volatile compounds. I can't speak, I haven't looked at the design of the varsity field, but the key to successful design is to protect human health and the environment is to keep that tire crumb rubber material out of exposure to kids and whoever's playing on it and exposure to the environment. And we are looking carefully at the science behind it with regard to that brush field right now.
Right.
And of course, if they propose something here to redo another varsity field, we would look at it too.
Right.
So that's the second thing. The third thing is, and Bill may want to comment on this, is substantial areas are now being mowed and have been mowed for a very long time by whoever does the mowing. And it is a wetland, not visible wetland because they're mowing it. But it is a wetland. So the question arises, do we just say we don't let things, the status quo, stay the way it is? Or do we let it return back to the wetland that I would prefer to see?
Right.
All right? It's kind of a gray area, to be frank with you.
Sure.
Having said that, there's one more element that goes beyond that. The folks that are down Long Meadow Brook, I think, are the recipients of flooding at times. It also could be, as part of a well-thought-out plan, that if you have additional area that can be wetlands, it slows the floodwaters. I don't know if it would work, but it can slow the floodwaters so that the people that are downstream, like you and others on Valley Circle or wherever, maybe we could reduce the flooding.
Right.
That would be the result of the town undergoing a concept study.
Right.
To see if something like that could be done.
Yeah.
And so, I would suggest maybe you should talk to your town meeting members in your precinct.
Okay.
And talk to engineering, maybe, or talk to the select board. I don't know, I'm not even sure who you talk to, but I'm aware that there's a flooding issue.
Right.
And maybe going down the road, an area that is currently being mowed and maintained as wetland maybe could be constructed for flood storage, is what it's called, so that maybe downstream people don't.
Have they ever considered dredging the wetlands? Because my understanding was years ago they used to do that, and not the wetlands, the stream.
Yeah.
The stream going down past the high school. But, you walk down, you see chairs in there, signs, and et cetera, that's not really going to cause a flood, but I always thought wetlands was supposed to be protected.
I'm going to call on anybody else who wants to comment at this, but my understanding is that water, it's like sort of, let's say you want to make more room for the Atlantic Ocean at Revere Beach and you're going to dig a trench.
Yeah.
It's not going to do anything because the volume of the groundwater is rather infinite. So, and it destroys habitat at the bottom of the stream, it destroys a bank, okay? So it is generally now considered, I think, and Eileen, you may want to comment on this, not permittable to do that.
Correct. We do not jet dredge streams. We are not allowed to
Okay.
dredge streams by DEP for exactly the reasons that Larry said about it's actually quite bad for the health of them. However, we do remove debris and things like chairs and rubbish from them.
Yeah, things that are blocking the stream certainly are an impediment, and sediment can be cleaned out, trash can be cleaned out, trees that block the flow of the stream can be cleaned out, all of that, okay? And, you want to remove sediment down to the natural bottom, but not remove the actual sediment.
I mean, I don't expect you to answer this question, but do you think placing a field over there is conducive to causing more flooding? Honestly, because in my mind, it's a bad move for the butters that live downstream to place a field there, and I feel like water's coming our way, that's how I feel about that.
Well, Bill, would you want to comment on the filling of wetlands and the restrictions we have? I'm going to ask Bill to comment on this.
What we've done here is we've defined where the wetlands are and defined where the upland is, which is not the wetland. And that defines the buildable area.
Okay.
If you want to build anything outside of that, you're going to have to destroy wetlands.
Okay.
And you picture wetlands, it's a big sponge is what it is.
Yep.
If you take a pail of water and you stick a sponge in it, it's going to soak up that water. And then if you drain the pail, some of the water is retained in the sponge. And that's what the wetlands do, is they retain that water in the sponge to prevent it from going downstream. And then they release it slowly, as it sinks, the water sinks, the sun shines, or whatever. So, protecting the wetlands is very important. Mowing the wetlands reduces their efficiency rather than having natural vegetation that would also soak up some of that water. So it's important to protect the wetlands, and the wetlands protect the downstream flow.
Right.
Eileen, would you want to comment on wetlands? If someone fills wetlands, what are the compensation requirements?
Well, there are limitations to how much wetland can be filled in any one project. I mean, you're talking about something like, depending on the project, potentially 5,000 square feet or 10% of the lot area. And that, I don't know if Andrea or Michelle has those numbers, but what's the size of that area that juts out into the field that's now wetland? Do you know? Ballpark?
I don't know.
I didn't think to measure it. Anyway, it means this process is not to say that they can or can't build something, it's to say, these are your limitations.
Okay.
And this is definitely putting some limitations.
Yeah, one of the limitations is that you're allowed, we don't have to, but we can permit the filling of a certain amount of wetlands. And I believe the regulations state 5,000 square feet.
Maximum.
Okay, so that's maximum. That's like an area 70 by 70. So I'm just eyeballing, but I think the area that is now being mowed is I think it's much larger than that.
I think they're getting us a ballpark area.
Oh, they're calculating it?
Looks like it.
Yeah, it's about 30,000 square feet, this is
30,000 square feet. So we would not, under the state law and the bylaw, we would not be able to permit. If they wanted to fill, say, 25,000 of it, we could not permit that.
Yeah.
Okay? We just couldn't. So.
Yeah. I'm not purposely trying to be difficult to
Well, you're not.
to the project. I just want people to know that. I would like a new high school built, but I just don't want it to be at the detriment of my family, the houses, the abutters. It's worrisome. Like I said, there is another plan that gives the kids a brand-new school that avoids this. I know that's not your concern, and my understanding is they would have a good chance maybe getting it passed.
Yeah, I think the commission and the staff are well aware of why actually all you folks are here, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we do.
I appreciate it.
Sure.
Appreciate your time, consideration.
Yeah, thanks for your comments. Who else would like to make a comment? Please come up.
Good evening. My name is Sharon Laurie. So I'm in a butter to the high school. My question's a little different.
What is your address?
20 Arlington Road.
Right, got it. Okay, thank you.
So my question's a little different because I understand all the wetland issues, but my question is pertaining to the plume of gas, oils, contaminants that are on Anna Road that are seeping through the high school field. Now, if there is a field that's a space that's contaminated and highly contaminated, and it's been contaminated for many, many years, and it's going on, so it's seeping deeper and deeper in the ground, but if you were to remove any of the soil and do any construction, now that contaminants are airborne, right? And so if it's airborne and then you close it up again in high school, what impact does that have to the children that are inside the school?
I'm smiling because that's a very good question.
I'm an analyst.
You're an analyst? What kind of an analyst are you?
I'm a pricing analyst. I work with numbers, but critical thinking skills are high on my book.
Good for you. Okay, a couple of things. Let me ask, is there anyone in the commission who wants to say anything in response to this person before I have a few thoughts on it?
No, I'm not aware. I haven't got the information as to where the plume is, and that's stuff that generally the Board of Health monitors the pollutant plumes.
You're the LSP.
And they have drilling sites, monitoring wells, they're called, and they monitor as it moves along over years and decades for these things to dissipate. So it's not part of our purview normally to monitor the plumes.
Your comments give rise to a few thoughts. The first one is that you are correct. A, there is contamination under that varsity field in groundwater. It's volatile contaminants. B, if they build a high school in an enclosed space, they will have to pay attention to, number one, putting a vapor barrier, designing a vapor barrier, which may be sufficient to prevent exposure to the people in the building above the vapor barrier in the building, to prevent, deleterious effects. In some cases, they actually put an active exhaust system like they do for radon gas, if that continues. Usually that's like an after-the-fact system because they didn't put in the vapor barrier, but if they put in the vapor barrier, usually that helps a lot. The second thing is with a building, if they would put a building on Varsity Field, they would have to do something about the water for the runoff off the roof and the hard surfaces and all that. And generally speaking, we look to infiltrate it. That's the prop, keep it on site and infiltrate it. However, in a case where there's contamination, we have to get, typically the project will get an opinion from what is called a licensed site professional. It's a professional license. I used to have one in my younger years, okay? And you make a decision on interpreting the regulations, but one of the things is sometimes you say that you can't infiltrate because when you put all that extra water into the ground, it then pushes the contamination along. It's sort of like, whoosh. All right, so they would have to get an LSP opinion on whether they could actually infiltrate at the site. I don't have any firm knowledge of exactly what would happen if they designed a building, and it would have to be looked at in far, far more depth, but that's kind of the considerations that you're bringing up.
And if they can't infiltrate on site, then that water's all got to go somewhere else.
Right, has to go somewhere else.
Yeah, but if there's a runoff, it would go into the wetlands,
Somewhere.
right?
Yeah.
And the other thing, and I know you probably can't answer this,
Yes.
but food for thought, no one knows the long-term effects of what's going to happen. So do we endanger our children because someone wants to put something on a varsity field that doesn't belong there? And they already know it's contaminated? I know
Well,
you can't answer
obviously,
the question.
You want to avoid two kinds of effects. You want to avoid toxic effects over the long term, and that make people sick.
Yes.
And you want to avoid toxic exposures that are carcinogenic. Those are the two types of exposures. You may be familiar, I don't know, but that would have to be, usually you would have to make sure that does not happen by doing what is called a risk assessment.
So would they come back to you with the risk assessment as well?
No, you'd see, the issue about what is called the down gradient property status, like whether or not you can infiltrate and then avoid moving the contaminant.
Right.
The issue of the indoor airspace, inhalation exposure, that would be the Board of Health.
Thank you so much.
All right, it's a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you.
Yes,
May I ask a follow-up question?
sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, I better state your name for the record again.
I will. I'm still Joanne Fristacci, 6 Valley Circle.
I'm glad you're still using the same name.
Depends on whose credit card I have. So,
You know, this is a recorded meeting, right?
that was a joke, though. So you mentioned the fill that, and it was a decision that was made, I expect, 13 years ago. And at the time, I thought it was 12 inches of fill, but in this process, I went back and looked at an old article and realized it was 2.5 feet of fill on that, the practice football field. And just because there are enough neighbors here and we've got your attention, I just wanted to mention that we saw an exceedingly higher proportion of problems of water in our neighborhoods after that was filled. At the time, I gulped really hard and said, I guess we have to take it on the chin for the kids because they're standing in, water and they need to practice. But it did have a severe effect downstream. And I just wanted to note that. And I appreciate the time and care you've taken with this issue tonight. Because we all really do, of course, we want to protect our property, but some of us really care about the wetlands.
Right.
And,
But on the other hand, if I was a resident down in the areas you're talking about downstream in Long Meadow Brook, and I was experiencing more flooding since the filling, I would not be happy.
Right.
In theory, when it was filled, there was compensatory wetland created somewhere else on the site. Now, whether it functioned as it was supposed to, that was supposed to completely negate the effects that you're talking about. It sounds like it didn't work well.
Experientially, just anecdotally, but no, it didn't. But thank you so much.
All right, thanks for your comments again. Anyone else want to say a few words?
I'd like to make one other point that we haven't even really approached yet, and that is whether there's any flood zones on the property. That's another whole issue that hasn't been addressed at this point.
Is that part of this determination?
Well, if there were flood zones on this and they tried to develop it, we would certainly.
Well, why don't we ask Andrea and...
Yeah, Andrea, are you, as part of your scope of work to determine bordering land subject to flooding boundary?
We are not seeking that confirmation. We recognize that there is a preliminary July 2025 map that was issued by it's a preliminary status, so it's issued by FEMA, prepared by FEMA. So, but we're not seeking confirmation of that
Okay. Well,
floodplain.
corollary question is part of your scope to determine riverfront area?
Yes, we will. That will be part of the next
That will be the 100 and the 200-foot buffer to riverfront will be marked on the plan?
Yes.
Okay,
So that's another boundary that we don't see yet.
right.
Well, we do, but it's going to change. That's what we were explaining earlier, but it was tricky. It was tricky because under our bylaw, it goes by the high water.
And by the state, it goes by BVW edge?
Well,
No. it goes-
Breaker Bank,
Oh,
right? Andrea, sorry, what I can't see.
Yeah,
I don't remember who I'm talking to.
Under the state, they have a different definition of how to determine the mean annual high water. So, but this stream is under the state regulations considered intermittent, so it would not have a riverfront area. But under the bylaw, this is a designated perennial stream.
right, right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that answer. Is, Eileen, and to the members of the commission, is there any other comment?
No, we do not. Once we get the remaining flagging, I think we'll probably, if you're in agreement, we would probably be in a position to issue an ORAD at the next meeting. And again, that's not saying that they can or can't build, it's showing them the limitations of what's on site, basically.
All right, is there any other comment from anyone else, either online or in the audience? Could I have a motion to continue the abbreviated notice of resource area delineation hearing for 123 Cambridge Street and 3 McGinnis Drive for the town of Burlington? And I guess the DEP number is still pending? Is that
Oh, no,
correct?
they have a DEP
We
number.
have one, it is.
Sorry.
719, it came in after we made the agenda.
DEP 122-719, continued to the meeting of April 24th. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second? Second. All those in favor? 500. Okay, folks, I think this one is an end for tonight, and we will probably issue a delineation of probably along the lines that you saw tonight.
Thank you.
All right, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Okay. Okay, so the next thing on our agenda is planning board comments. Is there anything for the planning board?
Anything for the planning board? No, I don't think we do.
All right, subcommittee and staff reports.
Lucy's having another, she would tell you herself, but she might have forgot to tell you
I
that
did.
about, she's having another stewards meeting next week. So
I am
if
on the,
anybody-
what is, the 16th at, I believe, 6 PM. I don't have it in front of me because I can.
The Wednesday, next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday, 6 PM.
All right, are you going to send out an email
I
and
am going to, yeah.
you'll include the commission on it,
I will do
obviously?
it.
Okay,
Monday, the 16th, yeah.
all right, and, okay, next is the election of officers. We're in a new term, and we usually reaffirm who's chair and who's vice chair. Bill has been the vice chair for a long time, and it would be a pleasure to, if he wants it, to offer the nomination of Bill Boyvan for chair.
I would not accept that nomination.
And if we elected, you would not serve.
No, I wouldn't say that.
And I second it.
Oh, your buddy here wants to force the issue.
It's forced.
All right.
Decline it.
All right, I should note that I talked with Sarah Werlinski and told her that we could postpone it since she wasn't going to make it tonight, and she said, no, absolutely not. Okay, she basically said she thought we kind of had an optimum situation, so.
Well, we have a proposer and a seconder, so you should just formally finish the vote.
Oh,
Didn't you?
well, you seconded it? Okay, all those in favor of Bill Boyvan for chair? 104.
You didn't want to.
He didn't want it, so I mean, like,
So we should propose you for chair. Make sure you're voted in.
all right.
I propose Larry Cohen for chair.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Okay, 1, 2, 3.
You can't vote for two people.
I can't vote.
No.
Why not? Okay, 5-0.
I gave you a third.
Okay.
Excellent, Sarah. Okay,
Okay.
I'd like to propose the nomination of Bill Boyvan for chair for another, vice chair for another year.
Second.
All those in favor? 5-0. Okay, so we're good for another year until we have to do this again.
The terms are 1 year.
I don't know, are they?
We usually
We do.
try and remember to do it after
Yeah.
the
town election.
elections.
Yeah.
We may have missed it the odd time because we just forget, but generally.
We don't have that written anywhere, though. It's not in our bylaw or anything
I
that
think we
says
do.
this one-year
I think
term.
that's
It's
just-
kind of like a practice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. In practice, that's what we do.
Our individual
All right.
terms of appointment are 3 years, but not the
Yes.
standing within the committee.
That's
All right,
correct.
so on behalf of Bill and myself, thank you.
Okay.
All right, so
You have another thing.
Thank you.
other business, what do we have for other business? Are you here for other business?
He is.
Well, we're going to let you go first then.
Sorry, he's been waiting all night. Sorry about that. I forgot I forgot you were there.
I'm a violator, I should have to wait all night.
So
Okay.
Please tell me more.
Lucy's computer has died and mine apparently is about to, so I can't access my photographs. But just remind me of your first, Eric. I'm sorry. Eric, I'm sure Eric will.
Why don't you introduce yourself and your location, please?
Eric Schwabel, 1 Thornton Drive.
One what?
Thornton Drive.
Thornton Drive, okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay, so what's going on?
We got a notification that tree cutting had occurred on that property. By the time I heard about it, it had already happened. I actually didn't go out because, oh no, it wasn't that I didn't go out. The contractor happened to come in that day or so, and anyway, in the heel of the hunt, I
So
did go out and look at the property and found that Mr., do you pronounce it Schweibel?
Yes.
Schweibel had taken down one leaning maple of a double header, which I probably would have approved anyway, but also 6 or 7 elms that were right at the riverbank. The tree company said that the elms had Dutch elm disease. The photographs that I took of at least one of the logs that were on the ground, it did look like, I'm not like an expert in Dutch elm, but from what my bit of internet sleuthing, it did look like it was Dutch elm disease. So again, we probably would have allowed them to come down, but they did so without any approval.
Okay.
So this actually happened a couple of weeks ago. I was dealing with them. I'm considering this a friendly enforcement. It took a while because I was sort of waiting for something to come back from them, from their tree company.
Who is the tree company, may I ask?
Middlesex?
Middlesex, okay.
With some sort of proof that, that the trees were ill, which they didn't really do. So I elected to put it on the agenda tonight as a discussion item. They're very willing to work with us. It's not that they're, they've been very, quite happy to work with me, and they're happy to replace them with some trees in kind.
Could you explain the resource areas involved?
Yeah, apologize.
Yeah.
It's right on the bank of Sawmill Brook.
Oh.
No, it may not be Sawmill Brook, but it's not Sawmill. It's a tributary to Sawmill, so it's a stream under the regulation.
Sure.
So it does have a 200-foot riverfront, and the trees that were taken down, some of them were right up against the bank, and the furthest one away was probably only 15 feet.
Yeah, I think the maple was about 50 or 20 feet, and the elms were right on the edge.
Yeah, let me ask you, sir, are you familiar with what riverfront is?
I am. So I thought wrongly that because they were dead,
Yeah.
it was free game. I did not know that I needed to have those checked, and they're near a yard, so I didn't want them coming into the yard. So that's,
Well,
it's all on
if
me.
they were diseased, and I have no reason to believe they weren't, the end result would be the same.
Yeah, but I'm a rule follower, so, if I'd known I was supposed to come in, I certainly would.
So the punishment we have for this fellow is to make him sit through an entire meeting?
That's about it, yeah.
Okay.
I would like to point out that even if a tree is dead, they're not diseased, but I mean, if it was just dead from old age or lightning strike or whatever, dead trees have environmental value as well.
So we actually take the dead, the reason we had them leave the wood there is that we line there's kind of, it's not really grass, it's mostly weeds up till kind of a transition zone towards the stream, and we actually use the wood to just line that there. But I know standing is better because that's because we have some woodpeckers and things across the stream. There's quite a few standing. Yeah,
Exactly.
there's quite a few standing back there, and the woodpeckers just love them. Yeah, so my apologies.
Yeah, not a problem.
I think we need to check whether, in this case, we actually might want him to remove them, because if it's Dutch elm, you don't want that spreading.
Well, if there's
I didn't realize-
other elm trees in the area,
I didn't realize we were going to keep them on the ground. I might have to look that up a little bit more.
yeah, obviously, we don't want to spread disease.
You think it might be spread, even if it was just a stump?
Yeah, that's what happened in Lexington. We had to take them all off the green for that same reason.
Well,
Oh,
it
really?
says on the University of Minnesota, wood from DED-infected elm trees should be buried, debarked, burned, or chipped.
Oh, you mean don't lay it on the ground?
Yeah, which is what that's what I
Funny, yeah.
mean. And ordinarily, we do, we would totally say, leave it on the
That would be a
ground.
great application, yeah.
So,
So we need kind of,
I'll check that, but I'm wondering what.
are we going to have And then for the next site visit, could we go out and take a look? Do you think we should be doing that?
We certainly could. I do have pictures that I actually just can't access at the moment. Would you be okay with the commission coming out to take a look?
Absolutely.
Before you reach out?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, when trees either come down, a lot of times trees, owners take them down, just not necessarily for a good reason. But a lot of times they're diseased. They're either forked or there's insects or whatever the case is. The riverfront has a lot of value for, you may be familiar, it works with the stream and the upland work together for the nesting of various animals that use it. And so we seek to have the restoration of shade, the restoration of shrubbery and stuff to make it as viable a riverfront area as possible for the resource. That's usually the approach we use.
Yeah, Eileen sent us a good list of native trees.
Right.
We kind of picked out a few that grow in moist soils, and so, well, you know. we got-
Exactly. There's some very attractive trees.
My wife and I are thumb wrestling over which ones we're going to choose for back there, but it's a very nice
Before
list.
I confirm that, I thought it should go through you
Yeah,
because really
so-
a violation like this should.
So I think, are you going to issue like, what we call a friendly enforcement letter to say, give us a plan of what you're going to do?
They effectively have done that, and we've sort of been going through this process, because we were waiting a couple of weeks to get something back from the tree company. So they have received emails from me, and they have proposed a few alternatives, which we can discuss. Actually, I do have your email. I know I can access that. Do you remember what you were proposing? Because I wasn't sure about the coffee tree.
I remember the Kentucky coffee tree,
Yeah, wasn't sure
the
about
river
that.
birch, and the crabapple. And then there were also some lower shrubs we're looking at, too.
Has the work that's been done so far destabilized the bank at all?
It has not, but the stumps are still in place.
You know, I had a crabapple tree at one point. It is such a messy tree in the fall. I mean, if you want it, I mean, you know, if it meets the definition of what you need for, as a native plant, but
It's kind of, like I said, we have kind of 15 or 20 feet of just wild area between the edge of the grass and the stream. And so back there, it can be as messy as it wants.
Got it,
Just, you
got
know,
it. Yeah, I
I
mean,
just view that.
provides food for the various birds and all the things. But if you had, I was just referring to if you thought the area had to be cleaned up, it's a pain in the neck.
Yeah, no, this we just let be. The only thing I do back there is pull poison ivy.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, I think though, even before our site visit, Lucy and I need to research though, normally on a bank like that, we would ask for the stumps to remain.
Yes.
However,
Yes.
if they are actually infected, we might need to see what the best thing to do is.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. The only caution I would throw in there is that part of the bank is just kind of stones
Right.
and down about 3 feet to water. And so the stumps are probably kind of wrapped, it might be hard to get stumps out of there.
That's right, well, sometimes it might be, I don't know, is it enough to grind them? We just need to all maybe do a bit of research on that. You can too.
And you think grinding might just
I
aerosolize all
honestly,
the
I
disease,
don't
you
know. I
know?
don't know, but I'm gonna look that up some more.
Yeah. Well, how would you get rid of a diseased elm? What's the
Because
best way?
ordinarily, I would say totally leave those trunks, leave those stumps there.
Did Middlesex take it down by hand or with a crane?
Crane.
I mean, I'm sure you've seen how they do tree work nowadays. They pick it up with a crane, they bring it to the street, right into the machine.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like,
But I think Eric may have chosen to keep.
Yeah, we lined the yard with them, and the ones we have there are just kind of rotting out, so we're going to replace them. But yeah, if that's the wrong thing to do, we obviously won't.
yeah, I don't know the answer to that.
Just under the circumstances, it might be, we're not sure.
Right.
Well, why don't we leave it that, I'll look that up and we'll have a site visit the next time before we confirm what trees are going to be definitely planted, so we can decide how best to.
And the rationale for taking them down, was it that in your opinion, the elm trees were diseased? Is that the reason?
Yeah, there was no foliage up top.
Got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
they were dead. The maple was just,
Well, we didn't ask, I thought I would at least ask you.
Yeah.
If that's the reason you did it.
the maple was live but leaning.
Yeah.
A lot.
Sure. Okay, so I think we have a plan. The commission will go out and take a look, so we kind of visualize what we're working with. Eileen will do a little bit of our research on how hazardous it is to leave those stumps there. It may not be a good idea. And you will probably continue to work on proposing what you want to plant.
Sounds good.
Does that sound good?
That sounds good.
That's great. Sorry, our meetings are usually not quite this long. Sorry you had to wait so long.
It was actually really interesting. I really kind of enjoyed it.
Yeah, well, you can,
You guys do a great job. You're
Thank you.
managing
Well-
a lot of people here. You really do a good job of it.
we normally don't get that number of people. The meetings don't normally go that long. I think a lot of them were waiting patiently for the high school.
Yeah, that was a chunk of the crowd. Yeah.
How am I going to stop the meeting?
Well,
What's that?
Oh, no, it's okay, we can do it with this. Sorry, my computer died as well because the meeting is so long.
All right,
Can I-
so our next meeting is April 24th. Usually on the 23rd, people that are available will go out and take a look, usually late afternoon. And
I'm around.
we always knock on the door ahead of time if we can.
Oh, it's fun to walk around back there with Eileen. She's always pointing out stuff. So,
All right, okay, sir. Thank you very much for coming in. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
sir.
Sorry for the trouble.
Not a problem. Take care. Nice to meet you. Okay, so any other business?
Remote and hybrid meetings have officially been extended to
Yes.
2027.
Yes.
So if we're happy to continue as we are, then we're allowed to.
As long
We can revisit
as,
it anytime.
if someone tries to bust into our meeting, we can knock them off.
great this time.
We were, as were many boards, we were a little loosey-goosey on sort of allowing people to share, to be presenters, because mostly the only people who attend our meetings are people who are actually interested.
Right.
So we'll revert from now on to not allowing people to share unless we designate them as presenters.
And that cures the problem?
Well, hopefully.
Yeah.
Enough.
Yeah, it'll be enough, right, probably.
And if somebody weasels their way in, you know how to knock it off, right?
Yeah.
Perfect. All right.
She's the woman now for that.
Nothing like experience to,
Oh, yeah, really knock it in there.
The one rule I read about that, though, is if, let's say we got 3 people here and 2 are virtual, if the virtual goes off,
Yep.
you can't continue because you don't have a quorum present
Oh, you mean of the commissioners?
of the commission.
Yes.
You
That
don't have a quorum present if the virtual goes off for some reason.
that is very rare.
otherwise you
for
can't
us.
keep
It would
going.
be right, you can't keep going, right, so that's just a caveat. that I
Quorum
read.
for us is 4.
Good point.
Yes, 4 is it, yeah.
All right. Okay.
Oh, Indra didn't come in. I thought he might come in later.
What's that?
Indra.
Yeah, he never showed, did he? Oh, well, maybe.
But our poor note taker's gonna have a doozy.
All right, could I have a motion to adjourn this meeting of the Conservation Commission, please?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor? 500. Good night.